not fun.
Rules and regulations, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
And a lot of them are like pointless to me. Like I don't like it's the rules just to get money. Like they have rules.
Pretty,
like,
yeah. Get somebody a slice of the pie.
Yeah, it's like, if you don't have a flashlight, that's $100. I'm like, what? We work in the daytime. What are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, all right. But
don't need a
emergencies,
flashlight.
yeah. What
if something happened, like you need, I'm like, a
and they're
flashlight?
in the woods in a drainy.
That is not what would happen if
This
there
guy
was
got
an
to save
emergency.
anybody, right?
Exactly. Like if there was an emergency, you're grabbing whoever's in the van and getting the fuck out of
And like in order for that to become a regulation, somebody somewhere drew up a plan and said like they need a flashlight in there, and they made an argument as to why they needed a flashlight in there. And somebody else was like, I agree with that idea. We're gonna make them put a flashlight in, and it's just like, what were you two thinking?
Exactly. That's government for you.
Yep.
That's literally what the government does. That's why I hate big government. I am for smaller government.
Oh, you should.
No.
So I work for DoD. So my job is at big, federally funded research and development center.
Oh,
so
shit.
all of our money comes from your taxes.
Fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun, yeah. No, that's too much. Too many ass kissing. That's basically.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, it's just. How do you get elected? How do you get anything funded?
Oh, yeah, okay.
You see what I'm saying?
That side of it, I don't really. So I should say that, right? We're R&D based. So it's like Congress, like every year, right? They got a whole budget thing, and it's like Congress is shutting down for 2 weeks. We don't shut down. I'm still working. All my bosses say is like, hey, look, they're shutting down again. You know, we could not have any money, but just keep doing what you're doing, and like nothing ever happens, right?
Well, it's kind of like my job for the state. The one that's state based is it's every time the government closes, we don't get paid.
They shut it down.
They shut it down, but we never stop working because they're like they'll figure it out and then we get it.
And then you'll get it.
It'll take a while or whatever, but you just keep going because once it gets resolved, you're gonna get it.
Yep. That's the labs like that.
Yeah, like that provides a little bit of a security blanket when it comes to work. Just because I know my contracts are usually like 5 years, so like for 5 years, like unless I do something crazy and fuck something up real bad.
But you got 5 years of work.
Exactly. No matter what happens, I got income for 5 years, and the next 5 years we renew it again. And just keep going like that.
So that's how. And do they usually do a renewal at the end of every contract, or like?
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. It's pretty. I've been there for 14 years, so it's.
So you've had 2 renewals.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah, yeah. I went to 2 different. It's crazy when we do that though, because everything changes. Like
Because they wanted to, yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, especially after COVID. COVID. I started this because of COVID, because
Looking for something to do, or
no, because my job got closed. Like we couldn't, like all the programs.
oh, because they didn't want people in contact with each other, so they shut the programs
Older
down.
people with disabilities and high risk, so they closed everything.
Yep.
And I've never been without a job, like since I was 14 years old. And then all of a sudden I'm like home and I'm watching, all this company that I helped build just
dissolve,
go into nothing. I mean, even to this day, we're like 300 vans before. Now we're like 150 or something.
Oh shit!
So we lost a lot in the process of COVID. And then I didn't like that the government decided to do that. And then it turned out it was all wrong.
I see.
You see what I'm saying? So then I was just like, what can they have? What can they can't miss talking, me talking. They can't stop me from, at least not yet anyway. Who knows? We don't know where we're headed, but for now, they can't.
I see what you're saying. So like if you could find a way to basically express your opinion somehow, podcast is a big thing nowadays. It's like, let me do that. I'll go that way.
Hopefully make money from there.
Yeah.
And the government can't do some bullshit like they did.
I see. Yeah, no, that's
and if you're not smart like me, what else can you do? You're just gonna talk. Like, I can't build nothing. Or like, so what is there to do?
Yeah.
And it's not, what do you do? Like engineering, do you get I never understood that. Like, do you just you could build whatever you want now?
Yeah.
Because that's how they make it seem. Like if you become an engineer, you could just.
So that okay, I think that's a good question. I think like for the layman, like when they like everybody's like, oh, what do you do? It's like, oh, I'm an engineer, and it's so when I get asked that question, it's like, what answer do you want, right? Do you want to know like my title, right? So it's like I'm an engineer, or do you want to actually know like what I do specifically, or do you want to just know what an engineer does? And so when people ask me, it's like, what do you do? I never actually know how to answer that because I never know what kind of answer they're looking for, right? And so if you're gonna ask me like what I do, if I want the conversation to end quick, I'm just gonna tell you I'm an engineer.
And
That's
blank
it.
is a
That's
whole
it,
bunch
right?
of stuff.
But if somebody was really like, no, like what does an engineer actually do? So in a general sense, you want to talk about an engineer, they build stuff.
Yeah.
Basically, right? So it's like anybody who has an idea and, you know, they put a system together and the system works and it does what it's supposed to, right? And depending on which first principles you put into action to actually build this system kind of dictates what type of engineer you are, right? So what we do is a lot like I said, I'm electrical. Specifically what I work on is communications. So like even within like electrical engineering, there's a lot of different branches, right? You could just do like power, and you could just be somebody who just designs power circuit boards, right? And all you're doing is just powering devices, and that's like you're the best at that, right? And so that's definitely something that's possible. The other thing is like you'll have people who like they won't even touch a circuit board. Straight electrical engineer, never have to, won't do any of that, and all they do is like math. And what that is like the early level of the engineering where they're going to basically come and say, "Hey, look, technology is at this state of the art, right? Can we push the envelope?" Well, how do you do that? You don't just go out and build something and say, "Hey, look, I think it's better," right? Like you have to have informed decision making in order to go out and do that. And that starts at the whiteboard. It starts with first principles, right? It starts with people just doing the math. And it's like, okay, we could do it this way. Can I make this algorithm, that big word, right? Yeah. Say that all the time. But like, can you make this algorithm better? And all an algorithm is, and anybody asks you, is a recipe. That's it.
Throw these things together.
That's
and
it.
That comes
Here's
out
a list of things you need. Here's the steps to put them together. And at the end, you should have a dish. That's what an algorithm does. It takes inputs. It says, what are the instructions? And it gives you outputs. The same thing.
That's it. Yeah.
So,
I went in school, I was studying electronics. So I was, I'm used to electricity and circuit boards and current, resistance and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I get what you mean. Doing the thinking of it, because you have to like set up the schematics for whatever circuitry you're gonna make. That was hard for me.
That's right, and that's the engineer side, right?
And then like the grabbing the mechanical stuff and putting it together.
That's a technician.
That was fun,
right? And that's a technician, not so much an engineer. Yep, big time.
Very different.
And so, but we have engineers at where I work who are specifically technicians, right? So one of the guys I really like to go work with, right, is this guy Paul. I go see Paul all the time. He makes cables and stuff like that, right? But he knows like a lot about like the nitty gritty where I don't. I'm a little removed. So I'm a little closer to that math side of things, whereas like, these guys are more like, oh, I'm tinkering with a circuit board and all this stuff. And so my whole approach is to not to get pigeonholed. Like I don't want to be a math guy, but I don't also want to just be the cable guy, right? I want to be able to do it all. And so that's usually not the skill set that's desired. People like specialized people because now you're an expert at something, right? So subject matter expert. Like say, for instance, you were setting up your radio station or whatever, right? And it's like, well, say I want to communicate farther away. I'm going to go pull in the subject matter expert on that. I'm going to go pull in a comms theory guy. I'm going to go pull in a digital signal processing guy, maybe pull in an FPGA guy, right? And I'm going to sit them down in a room and I'm going to say, hey, look, we need to improve this. So
that's too much work for me.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, no, again, everybody has their thing. That's like but at least from people from my background, when we hear engineer, we think of Tony Stark.
I hate that, bro.
I know.
Okay, let me tell you why, right? Because Iron Man, he makes it seem like, bro, one man could do everything.
Exactly.
When you get into engineering, you realize that is not true whatsoever.
It's divided in so many sections.
Oh, yeah,
like I said, to me, when people say, at least back then anyway, you say engineer, I'm like, so you could just build anything. Just think of it and bring it to life.
Yes, but it's not exact. That's not exactly the truth, right?
Because there's a lot of levels to engineering, so one person can't do it. Just
no, not at all. No, and so like if you system engineers though, right? So in the electrical world, we do have system engineers, and they're very good at pretty much doing the whole scope, right? Some of them can fabricate circuit boards and then put what they need onto it, and then even program it with the computer and all that stuff. So like you do have some people that can kind of get you all the way there, but they still got to source stuff from, this company or that.
Exactly.
So there's never one man show. That does not exist, right? There's nobody going and getting natural resources from nature and out in the wild, and then next thing you know, there's a computer. Nobody does that.
Exactly. Like
Tony Stark isn't sitting in a cave and building an Iron Man suit. So that's why I don't like that, because it creates this like false persona of like what an engineer is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I think Peter Parker is a better engineer, because you look at Spider-Man. Spider-Man made his own like little web shooter and all that stuff. That's more believable than saying you have this like super genius from MIT who can like literally do everything. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of, and then I don't know, the new Marvels this what made me mad with Spider-Man is they made it seem like all of his tech came from Tony Stark. But Spider-Man is a smart ass on his own right, and he can make his own shit. Exactly. So why does and I didn't like how they made it like it was almost like
suit and
it's Tony Stark's little bitch or something, right?
They started him too early. It's
like a kid.
This kind of does mess up the real Spider-Man story.
That's why, for me it did, And
I think it's tricky too, because Spider-Man didn't belong to DC. There was something funny with Spider-Man.
Sony owned him for a while.
Yeah, so I think that's why it's like...
So, Spider-Man's still... Like, he's a Marvel guy, but Sony bought the rights to Spider-Man, like, I think late 90s. While back. And then they brought in, like, Tobey Maguire, and they did those 3 movies, right? That was all Sony. The other thing Marvel did was they... who else did they X-Men. Yep. X-Men, they sold them to Fox. So they didn't own the right to X-Men. So that's why you haven't seen X-Men in any Marvel movie.
It's coming now, supposedly.
Okay. So maybe they got some deal with Fox that they worked out with Sony. So Sony actually still technically owns the right to Spider-Man. That's why that's why Spider-Man games are only on PlayStation consoles. Because Sony actually owns the rights exclusively to Spider-Man and all his likeness. Yeah, so I don't know. We'll see if like X-Men comes to.
There's supposedly that's the follow up.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, after the whole Thanos whatever. What's coming next is the different universe, and now they're going to the universe of where X-Men is.
I'm done with after we watched the first 10 movies that started when we was in like high school and early college or whatever. It's like, all right, man, I watched all of that. Like I'm good now.
I haven't kept up with it after. Like I think I watched the ending, the last ending of the movie I wanted to get a ending.
Put a bow on it. Exactly. This is done. Wrap it up.
The rest of it that comes out after that, I haven't watched any of that shit.
No, I haven't either. Yeah, and then they made a big push on like Disney Plus and their streaming platform and do all that.
I have all that shit and I pay for it. I don't remember last time I went on Disney Plus, bro.
Does somebody use it though in the house? Does somebody?
No, not even my kids.
You gotta cancel it then, man. You're just throwing money away.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know why. You know what it is? I think I have it in a bundle. Disney, ESPN.
That's what I have. So that's what I have. I got the Hulu bundle. I got the without commercials, like the live stuff. So I don't pay for cable. I just pay for the internet, and then that's how I watch my football games, my basketball games, all that stuff.
Exactly.
Right? So,
all the fights through ESPN Plus.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's it. I don't have cable in my house. Yeah. My kids don't. Like I had it, and then my kids just not like us. They're like, I have to be there at this hour to watch. Not happening.
Nah.
Kids nowadays don't know what they just like, I want to watch it when I want to watch it.
Yeah.
So it makes no sense. By the way, guys, welcome to EDJ Studios. This is the EDJ podcast. We are recording. I got a special guest.
Oh, we've been recording?
For some parts of it. We got the cool stuff we got.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
I got a good friend, Josh. How do you pronounce your name? Your last name?
Labranche.
Yep. Okay, just like you see it.
Yep, pretty much. Yeah.
Where's that from? That's a weird last name.
It's French Canadian.
Okay.
So yeah, my family by way of Canada, spoke French. My grandfather used to speak French at the dinner table, all that stuff.
You speak French too?
Hell no. I tried, right? So like in school, you know how like you got to do Spanish
you
or
gotta
something.
choose one.
Yeah, so I tried to do French at first, and I was like, all right, cool, this is whatever, but
You have to practice it at home to get it. Like
that's what it is. Any language is like that. You really got to practice. And like, I went to Brazil for like a whole month. I stayed with a friend down there, and like Portuguese and Spanish are kind of similar, but
Yes.
they're different as well too,
Yes,
right? So
yes.
there are some similarities, but a lot of differences. And so like, I was mixing those up all the time, and like unless you're practicing it and like really engaging in it, you kind of lose it,
Yeah. So I help my kids with soccer. I'm not there. I'm like an assistant coach. I'm not their coach because I don't never play soccer, but I help. And they're Brazilian, so I translate. That's also one of the why I'm there, because I'm able to. He speaks only Portuguese. He doesn't speak that well of English. The coach.
Got you.
So we have a bunch of Spanish kids and people that speak English, and then also Brazilian kids and Portuguese kids.
Yeah.
But I'm able to translate his Portuguese.
Yeah.
Even though I can't speak it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you picked up like the things that are the same are similar enough to where
That
like
I could.
the idea, right? You know what
Exactly.
he's trying to say,
Exactly.
and so then you just say it how you would interpret it, right?
Exactly. So I worked in the restaurant business for a long time. I worked specifically for a long time Boston Market.
Okay.
And
Which one?
In Chenford. It's closed now.
Oh, okay.
Right where Dave's Hot Chicken is now.
Yeah, not the one in Drum Hill.
Yeah, that one.
No, it is that one.
Yeah, I worked there.
Okay.
And I was a manager there for.
I remember that when that was there back in the day. Yeah.
I was there for like 10 years as a manager.
I never went there though.
To eat, it was good food. I'm not,
Boston, no, it's not bad food. I just think like Boston Market kind of got like that old people like.
Oh yeah, it's
like
yes.
Cracker Barrel almost.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's mainly what you're gonna find.
Yeah.
There, but it's good food and healthy. Somewhat
for a restaurant,
exactly,
right?
for a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
Because it is a fast food restaurant.
Yeah.
It's better than McDonald's and things like that. You're getting somewhat something better. But I worked there, and my cooks were Brazilian, a husband and a wife. And I used to do like 14-hour shifts. So I used to work in the morning and in the afternoon straight.
That's crazy.
So the husband would work with me in the morning, and then the wife would work with me at night.
Yeah.
And they spoke only Portuguese.
Oh, jeez.
So through the 10 years, I built up where I understand them. It is weird because like my wife, right? We go and she doesn't understand the coach, but I could clearly understand what he's trying to say and translate it to everybody. People come up to me like, "Oh," and start speaking Portuguese and expect me to speak back, and I'm like, "No, I don't speak Portuguese."
Yeah, I just kind of know what's going on
Exactly.
here. Yeah, like
It's
I
so
read between the
similar.
lines. I don't know what's going on in the lines.
It might not be perfect translation. Just saying.
Yeah, that's true too, right?
But the gist of it is right.
But no, that makes sense. So like the reason I went to Brazil was when I actually used to work at the Olympia down here in Lowell.
Yes.
So I worked there for a long time. That was like my get you through school type of deal. I did other stuff too, but that was my big job, I guess you'd say, right? And I had met Brazilians there. Of course, they're all throughout like the restaurant industry, right? And you find them everywhere. But like,
and Lowell has a big.
it's because they work hard, man. Like they got a good reputation for being hard workers, and like rightfully so. But I had met one Brazilian who's an older gentleman, George. He's real good guy. And his nephew came from Brazil, stayed with him, all that stuff. And it got to a point where his nephew kind of didn't have a place to stay. And I had my own apartment at the time. So they came to me and was like, "Hey, can my nephew stay with you?" And I was just like, I mean, I guess, I was kind of hesitant to let him, because like I was living by myself. I was getting used to it and knew what I was. So I initially told him, I was like, "Bro, you can only stay for like 6 months and I'll help you figure out what's going on." He ended up living there for like 2 years, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? And but what made it a little better was the little bit of Spanish that I did know, I was able to talk to him, right? So like I could ask you like, "Como se dice?" Like, how do I say something, right? And like, so knowing those little things, right, would it actually allow us, and now we kind of have our own language. We talk to each other in like this weird broken Portuguese English type of thing, right? But it works for us. It's cool. But
that's a thing people don't understand. Like if you close with somebody, like you kind of get, like my dad. My dad doesn't speak English at all. He works, he in his job, he's able to communicate what he wants done.
Yeah, okay.
So, but he's been here for forever. I don't know why he never learned English, but
some of them just don't care to. And
it's just he came in and never did school here.
So it's just
he was just working all the time, and he picked up what he needed to get by from work.
That's it, and and that's all that really matters, right? I think, and it's like what. Most of your conversation is nonverbal anyways, right? It's more about like body language and things like that. And like, it's not hard to tell somebody what you got to do. It's like, you just show them. It's like, what do you have to say? Nothing. Like, wave them over, man, come in. This is what you got to do.
Exactly.
And like you said, right? Like they can show you something one time and like, you can do it. And like, maybe you might have to show somebody a few times, but you show them a few times. You don't have to say anything. They're like, this is how you did it. Monkey see, monkey do type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. That's basically how I learn. It's different for everybody though. But how was Brazil for 1 month?
So I went twice. 1 month was amazing. So what was really cool, and like one of the big things I'm really proud of is like I didn't get to go to a resort. I didn't get to go to a beach. I was staying at my buddy's house, right?
Yeah.
And my buddy he lives where he lives. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I was going, and we stayed there. It was, I would say, a month was a little too long, but at the same time, it was worth the experience because like I was away from home in another country, not with my own family, like, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, there's that trust thing and just all that, right? But so you really got to, he lived with me for 2 years, right? So it's like, you kind of know somebody, right? And like, you're not going to go to Brazil with somebody that like you think like they're just gonna dump your body on the side of the road, right? You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So
but I get what you mean. You went to the real parts.
Yes.
It's like, so I'm an immigrant, right? Same thing.
Yeah.
I'm Dominican. I came when I was 11. So it's the same thing for me. I went through that stage of not knowing English or nothing. I mean, even when we know each other,
Bro, when I first met you, you used to tell everybody your name was Starburst because you didn't want to go through the whole conversation of trying to explain to people how to pronounce your name, bro. I remember that. Like, that's why even on my phone, when you send me your number this time,
Starburst. A lot of people say
it. Yeah, because like that's how you used to introduce yourself. You know what I'm saying?
I was just like, I don't want to go through this explanation anymore.
Exactly.
So whatever helps.
Starburst. You know what a Starburst is. Call me that. Exactly. Yeah, like I'm cool with that. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, now people call me Mello.
Oh, okay.
That's my name also is Estelver Carmelo.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so people just...
I only knew the Estelver.
Yeah, from anybody that knows me from school, Stelver or Starburst.
Yep.
And then if you knew me from like my family, then you would call me Mello.
Got you.
My dad's name is Carmelo.
Got you.
And everybody called me Mello. And then it switched. Now everybody calls me Mello. And then some people from high school, they call me Stelver. Either one is fine. It doesn't bother me at all. But yeah, no, it's like I understand that process of like going to a new place. And you did it for a month, but you still got the gist of it. Like,
yeah, the like culture shock.
Newness, yes.
You're there long enough to where like you can't just run back home. So know, so I would say this. I got to probably about like 10 to 12 days in, and I'm like,
yeah.
Right? It's like, man, I don't know. I want to stay here that much longer. Like, I'm trying to go back home where I'm used to things. But, you suck it up, whatever. And I think that was that. The big thing with me is like the culture stuff. So, like, I grew up, I stayed with my aunt. My aunt married a Puerto Rican guy. So, like, my cousins was Puerto Rican, right? So, I had, not all of them, but a few cousins. So, like, culture blending was never a problem for me. And so, like, when I had him come to my house and he was living with me, that was easy to, and then that made it clear that, if he brings me to Brazil, I'll have an understanding that like of what's going on. I'm not going to be like quote unquote ignorant American, right?
Exactly.
There's certain things I couldn't do around there, right? Like I wasn't, my phone was in my pocket the whole time.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't wear my nice shoes if we was just walking around the neighborhood. My watch was in my pocket if we was just walking around the neighborhood. Right. So it's like, it's little things like that you might take for granted here at home. But like when you go over there, you got to be aware, you got to be on your toes and kind of all this stuff. Like I had an American flag t-shirt. I wore that maybe once.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to draw attention to yourself.
See,
being a foreigner.
100%. Look, I am from the Dominican Republic. I'm from there. When I go there.
Same deal, right?
I'm not wearing anything that draws my eye. I don't want people to know that I'm a traveler.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That's putting a target in your back.
Exactly.
A lot of tourists, not just American, this goes for any tourist. When you tourist, you go to the touristy place. That's not the real
in a box
Exactly.
where you're protected.
It's controlled.
In
You're
a
still
sense,
paying in dollars.
Yeah, exactly.
It's different. you
Yeah,
know?
I went out there and it was no U.S. dollars, right?
Yeah.
It's what
Yeah.
is it?
That's the real experience.
Yeah, so like with him, it
That's
was.
the Anthony Bourdain stuff.
I had to send him money before we left so that like they did the transfer in the bank. So by the time we got there, we had spending money for the whole trip. So I went 1 year. The following year, I went again. I actually took Ramon. Me and Ramon went and we stayed there. But it was only 2 weeks this time, but it was both of us. And I took Ramon because he's Dominican and Puerto Rican. So like he's been to DR, he's been out there, so he kind of knows. But even with Ramon, there was one night where, we're having a good time and all this stuff, and like things start to get a little loud, and like Ramon's speaking English very loud. So I gotta pull him aside and be like,
Hey.
bro, like, I notice you yelling in English. Everybody else knows you yelling in English.
Exactly.
You sound crazy right now. Yeah. And then he was a little messed up, so he got a little mad. Like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I'm good. But like, and I'm like, all right, you good, you good. But it's just things like that. You just gotta kind of like, you don't think about it, right?
Yeah, when you're here, no, you have to definitely be aware of things like that when you go to, especially if you go to the real places. Like if you go, like I said, I'm from there. People know my family. I have friends, I came when I have friends there. I still have to be careful.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast.
Yep, for sure.
And I mean, you could kind of see that here. If you go to a hood in North Carolina, in California, Compton or whatever.
Chicago.
Exactly. You better
Baltimore.
You better
right?
know where you're at. You
Yeah.
better know because you just don't know. So that's that's good experiences. A lot of people don't get to experience that.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And that's why it was like, for me, I really appreciated not going to a resort, right? And like not. All right. So one of the things was really cool. The second time I went there, right? So we brought Ramon back. It was a group of us walking down the street, and out of nowhere, you just heard Joshy. Somebody was screaming my name in another country, right? And it was this kid, Paulo. He drove up on us. He saw that I was walking down the street, and he saw that I was back in the neighborhood visiting, the same people. So he runs up on us, and he's like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" Right? And it was like those type of moments where it's like, "Oh wow, that's really cool." Like I'm like on the other side of the world right now, and somebody knows me enough to like want to like come. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I like that. That was like a real like surreal moment for me, because it was just like this is a life experience in its own right. You know what I mean?
Yes, and some of them may seem like bad at first, or you don't want to be there, but later on you reflect back and you're like, that was actually, pretty cool. Like, it's like for me, right? When I came here to this country, it was a shock.
How old were you?
I was 11.
11? Okay.
So I did like 8th grade in middle school, and then I was in high school. So that's what I mean. When I knew you, I barely knew English. Like, I just had the gift of, I don't have the accent, right?
No, bro, you know what it was? Not to be weird or nothing, but like you would always just smile.
Yeah.
You just
That's
smile,
a defense
bro.
mechanism.
Yo, bro. And like it was like, oh, this guy's friendly.
Exactly.
He's harmless,
Exactly.
right? Because you just smiled. Like, so that's why, like, and I know it too, because we didn't really chat much, but I always had this opinion of you, like, he's a nice dude.
Exactly.
And it's just because, like, how you just carried yourself. You knew, like, oh, I can't talk to you, but I can do the body language talk, right?
Yeah.
So
exactly. And that's a defense mechanism. When you're in a place and you don't know anybody, right? You don't want to see.
You're right. I hear you.
That was pretty much what that was at that point in my life. It was just like I don't know anybody, so I don't want to look threatening at all.
Right.
And who's gonna mess with somebody who's laughing and smiling all the time?
Exactly.
So that's why comedians and things like that comes out of a dark place.
Yeah.
Usually.
That's a good one.
So for me, that's what that was. And
like Robin Williams and stuff like that.
Yeah. Like most comedians, comedy comes from, usually comes from you develop that ability.
So you think it's like a psychological thing where like you're looking for like not an escape, but like you're trying to change your mental perception, and so you try to influence others around you by making them laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was that. I like I said, this is all looking back. back then I didn't know that that's what I was doing. Now I understand.
Oh, we older
back.
now. We allowed to do that stuff, right?
Exactly. You look back. But yeah, no, like that's one experience. At the moment, it was bad, right? Like I hated it. I wanted to go back to my country.
I see.
You know, I had my experience was a little different because I wasn't struggling over there. I came to struggle here, which is backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When I was over there, my mom sent me everything in dollars, so I made a lot of money over there. So I had everything.
I see.
Right? So over
But
there.
now but she's like, you getting older, like, you know, kind of type of deal. Like,
No, it was just like, you know, she wanted me here the whole time. She was working through the legal.
Oh, bet.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, she never wanted me over there. It's just.
I didn't know if she came here for like the opportunity and then sent the money back to you, take care, and then try to get you over here.
Exactly. So that's what she did. She left us because, you know, she wanted to have a better life for us, right? It was great. But when I was over there, everybody would tell me, when you go over there, when you go to America, everything's going to be easy. You're going to have everything you want. You don't need nothing.
Yeah, why is it?
That's the picture, right?
Why do South Americans and Dominican, that's the idea. Is like, it's so glorious over here.
Yeah,
it sucks.
It's not what people think.
Everybody cold here. So that was the big thing with my Brazilian friend. Is he used to always say people are cold here. Yeah. Cold, and like they shut you off. And it's because when you go over there, you got people that like, you're just walking down the street and like they act like they're your best friend. They don't know you from a hole in the wall. Exactly. Here, that's not like that, especially in New England, right?
Yeah.
Especially up here. It's like this area is like, a lot of people are like rugged, rough edge, and they feel like they have to be because that's like the attitude or mentality a lot of people carry. And it's like,
no, and also living over here is tough. Like, we're not living in California. Weather is always
general,
good.
Yeah. But okay, but Pennsylvania people don't got that. And they got to deal with harsh winters too, right?
They're nice, everything.
Maine people got to deal with harsh winters, and they not like this, right?
That's true, though.
So
actually, that's a good point.
So I thought about that because I actually recently I was thinking like, why are people around here such assholes? And it's like, it's got to be the harsh winter. You got to be tough to make through the harsh winter. But then you think about it, like Canada is a country that's just a little north of us. It's way colder. It snows more. And they are way nicer than anybody I ever met around here, right?
You know what? I never thought about that. I go to Maine all the time, and now that you mention it.
So I don't think it has to do with the winters. Yeah. I think that's an excuse that people use around here. And what I think it is I think it's the like Northeast, like if you're not working, you're falling behind attitude. So like, and then it's even like, getting home is a chore. People treat it as like chores. So like when you're trying to go home, people are rushing home. To make it home like 10, 15 minutes early. You got kids and stuff like that. Yo, don't get me wrong. I understand. But like, if you got kids, you should have already kind of had this figured out anyways. Exactly. So you shouldn't be rushing home to begin with, right? No. So
if you're doing it right. You know, but it's different for people. But
it's hard. I understand.
It's like you said, I never thought about it that way. Why is that?
I wish I had a good answer. I really do think it's the mentality of like, if you're not going, you're falling behind.
Yeah, and in other countries, it's not like that. Like, I don't know if you realize that when you went to Brazil, like, time moves slower over there. Bro. Everything is less stress.
Less stressful.
Like, people are working, but there's not, like, this, like in my country, right? Like, people go home at 12, go eat at their house. Like,
bro, and we don't do that over here.
No, you got 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You got to eat your food and come back to work.
Hell no.
Like, in my country, like, you literally, not all jobs, of course, but a lot of jobs, you went home and ate your food out with your family, and then you went back to work.
You just brought up a good point. Okay, so actually, this is awesome. I'm glad you said this. I work with somebody. It's gentleman Marcos. He's Mexican. Marcos hates to do any type of meeting at lunch. And now it just clicked why. Because he's Mexican. And in his culture, they take a fiesta every day at lunch, and they don't work. Yes. So if you're going to make him work during his fiesta, that is like going against his whole culture. Yep. And that's why he's like, no, I'm not doing a meeting at lunch. And like, I'm like, okay, you don't want to do a meeting at lunch? Whatever. Yeah. Now I actually thought about it, and it makes sense because now I thought, oh yeah, he's actually Mexican. So his culture is that they have that whole fiesta thing. Yeah. You know, middle of the day, they take a lunch break for an hour, whatever they got to do, and then they go back to work. So for him, that's probably still how he works. You know what I'm saying? So
like my dad, like I remember this, like as a kid, my dad used to go to work, get up. Now they get up super early. My dad used to leave at like 5 a.m, but he'll come back right around like 11 something, right around 12, and then he'll be home till 2, and then he'll eat, he'll sleep, and then he'll go back to work and come back like around 5. That's what a day of work over there is. You eat lunch with your family.
It makes sense too, right? Because you think about productivity as as a worker, right? Like if you're gonna force a worker to do like 8 hours and you try to like quantify their productivity, take that same person and give them 2 4-hour chunks and then look at their productivity and like tell me, does it change? And it's like, what are they doing in between those 2 4-hour chunks? And that'll tell you how much the change is going to be, right? Exactly. And that's how I see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and America is one of those, like I tell people, right? Like everybody looks at America. It's like, oh, when you go to America, you succeed, right? You progress.
If you bust ass.
But that's what they don't understand. It's kind of by force. You have no choice.
Yes.
If not, you're homeless.
So that's what I'm saying about that's the mentality around here. Because I feel like if you go out to the Midwest, right, you won't get as many people who feel like, we do, where it's like, if you ain't grinding, you're gonna be homeless. You're not gonna have, right? You go out to the Midwest and they're like, whatever, bro. Like, Bucky down the street lives in a trailer. Who cares if I'm homeless, right?
Exactly.
No offense to Bucky or anybody from the Midwest, but you got what I'm saying, right? So it's just a different attitude, different mentality, and I think like, it's a big push here. It's like, yo, bro, we got to be moving, we got to be grinding, we got to be doing something, because like and a lot of people, like, they try to play like that's what they're doing, and so everybody else is like, they almost trying to like live up to this fake facade. Exactly. It's like, I'm always working, I'm always doing this, and it's just like, cool for you, bro. Like, I'm happy. That's all I care about.
Exactly. I think, that comes with time. Like before, I was like that. I was like, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want this, I want things.
Yeah.
And then you get things, and then you want more things. And then you realize this doesn't do anything. This doesn't. It keeps going.
It's nothing.
It's endless.
And you never stop.
Exactly. There's always something new coming. So I did a big switch, and like I said, COVID had a lot of bad things, but also had a lot of good things if you knew how to take advantage of that time.
Yeah.
It provided a lot of time that I never had, which is stop, right? Like I was home for like the longest, like 6 months, not doing nothing, which is my kids not working,
just trying to figure something out.
And I hadn't had that in a long time. Like I said, I've been working since I was 14 years old, never stopped till that time.
Oh, I see. So did you take advantage of it then?
Yeah, so I took advantage of like, okay, like I need, what do I want to do? Like, I don't know. I've been fucking putting 12 hours in a job for, I don't know how long, but like almost 18 years.
Yeah.
No, not even 8. No, like 14 years.
Oh, yeah.
Just like this.
Tunnel vision.
Just working. And COVID, I was like, what do I want though? Like, instead of like material things, what do I want that's not material? Like, what makes me happy? Focus on that.
Yeah.
That's what COVID did for me.
That's interesting. That's
how I started this. Like, I started something that I wanted to do. Before anything else, was like, I need to see money. If I'm going to spend money, I need to see business mind.
Yeah.
I need to see what's coming back.
Yeah.
This, I'm not, there's no way to know that I am going to get money back out of it. If I do, it's cool, right? But if I don't, it is what it is. So that was the only, like, I started thinking differently because of that. I started thinking of like things that fulfill me.
Yep.
Like, look at this. This is providing we probably would have not met up again and talked.
Probably not. I probably would have, the next time I would have saw you probably would have been the next time we had an event with the food truck or something.
Exactly. Right? Exactly. So like it provided an avenue for things like this to happen for me, which is very, very cool. Like Fernando, a bunch of cool ass new people that I've met that otherwise I wouldn't have.
Yep.
Right. So like, that's a win. It's already a win for me.
Yep.
But before,
for sure.
Before there was no way I would make the decision because there was no money attached to it.
So, okay, yeah. So, like, COVID kind of, like, I'm not getting any money. I can't even get any money. So, like, what is the other thing? Yeah,
like,
what else is out there? Like,
exactly.
I see.
It's because before that, I didn't have the time to even think about something like that. It was just work. You need to show up to work. It doesn't end. So I took advantage of it. What did you do for COVID? How did COVID affect you?
COVID really didn't change much for me. Actually, what was good about COVID for me personally was that
You didn't get laid off?
no. So
Damn, that sucks.
bro, I work for the government, bro. They don't lay people off. Are you kidding me? I work for the Department of Defense. Even they don't lay nobody off.
Damn.
Right?
So I see
we were
what you mean.
hiring during COVID, bro. Let's be real.
Damn.
So I was driving into work. Like I was. So at my work, I work on different types of projects. Some of them require me to be on site in specific areas for certain reasons. Let's just say, and during COVID, I was on one of those projects, and so I had to be at work. I had to be there, and so like everybody at that lab is technically considered like what were they calling the workers that had
essential.
We were all, the whole lab was essential, right? So I didn't miss a beat. But what it did do was on my other side of stuff, we started to see a little bit of growth with the meal preps, with the sauce stuff, and then I kind of realized that like we want to push for a truck. And so on the back end of that, it really like pushed us towards like, all right, we're dying out with the meal preps. COVID's wrapping up. Let's get a truck.
Yep.
And so for me, that was the good that came out of it. As far as work, I didn't miss a beat.
You didn't feel no type of way that people were at home getting
I loved
paid?
it, bro. You know how easy it was to get to work?
No traffic. I didn't even
Bro,
get to enjoy that.
You know what I'm saying? Okay, as far as like people being home and miserable, nah, I didn't care.
See,
if they were sick, I cared. Don't get me wrong. Like I don't want nobody getting sick and bad health.
Yeah.
But like if you just chilling at home and you upset because you just chilling at home, bro,
Yeah.
go find something constructive to do. Go
Exactly.
pick up a book. Go open your computer and go to a website you never went to. Read an article. You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people like turn to like the same hobbies. Like make banana bread or sourdough bread was like a big thing, right? And it's just like, why is everybody doing the same stuff?
Yeah, for me it was my wife was working. She's a nurse, right? So
she's essential.
She had to work. She was going through it.
Yeah.
I was
a lot too. Yeah. No.
Yeah,
shout out to the nurses during COVID for real.
Yeah, it was tough.
They had it. They had it bad.
And especially in the beginning when you don't know, like how bad is this? Like in the beginning, like we didn't know exactly. So my wife is like,
and they're probably like, I don't want to get it.
Yeah,
I'll give it to my kids.
Taking her clothes off outside, like before she comes in the house.
Yep.
Put them in bags and then throw them in the dryer to try to kill, because you don't know.
You don't.
And then I was at home with my kids, basically having fun and getting paid more money than I did when I was at work.
Did you have dinner ready though?
Yeah, I did everything.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, at my house, this is how it works at my house, right? Whoever's home cooks. Like, there's no way that the person that's working is gonna come home.
No, I should back up a little bit. I'm not a like an advocate for gender roles or anything like that. So like when I said that was more of a joke, but like like I agree. If you, bro, it's a team effort, right? At the end of the day, it's like we got stuff to do. Whether you do it or I do it doesn't matter. It's whoever's like there and in the best mind state to do it should do it.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. No. That's how we do it up. Like it's not like, look, would I prefer? I'm old school, man. Would I prefer my wife to be home and not work?
Bro, all men are old school at heart. Let's be real, but like, it's a new day and age. Like,
you can't. It's not possible how it is. Like how things are nowadays. It's just you need two incomes. Like, it's not. Like, it's just what it is. So, like, for us, how it works is we both work. So it's not like, I get to say, well, I'm tired. Well, I work too. I'm tired too.
Yeah, right. There's no like,
exactly.
I make more money than you.
Exactly.
Like, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Like I pay more bills.
Yeah.
Right. Like when it comes to like paying the bills, I pay the bills on my house. But that doesn't mean, that she's not working.
Or she's not contributing in her own right.
She saves for savings for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
her money goes towards that. So like, I can't just be like, well, I work and pay the bills.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, but the savings account is like this because I work too.
Yeah. So if you F up, I got your back.
Exactly. Shut up. See, that's kind of like it is. So if, the way we look at it, you got how to work early. All right. Well, you're home. You cook. If I'm home, I got to work early. All right. Well, I'm home. I'll cook.
That's cool. That's cool.
But it was awesome because it was just me and my kids every day. I'm fat right now. I was fatter then. I was 300 pounds back then. Me and my kids, I was military. That's how my mind works. We would go in the morning. We'll wake up in the morning. We eat breakfast. We're going for a run. We're going outside. We're burning. I'm tiring you guys out.
Yeah.
So we were just outside making
Yeah,
them run.
you didn't want to deal with that. No crankiness in the house,
nah,
man.
I need you guys tired.
Dead tired.
So we were just, I would make them go run, go do push-ups, man stuff. And then I'll come back home. I'll make lunch for them, and then I will make lunch and dinner at the same time, because I don't want to have to make breakfast and then make lunch. And back then you ain't buying food either, because you were scared. Like, you don't know what was happening. Like, you don't want people bringing you food. So I would do lunch and dinner. So when my wife would come home, dinner was
already ready,
done, and then I'm chilling, and the kids are tired and they're showered.
So you got time to chill.
So I'm in my couch, just just.
Bro.
I've never had that before, because like I said, I was just always working.
It's like a house husband, bro.
I'm like, I like this shit.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, this is cool, man. I don't mind doing this cleaning and cooking.
Yeah.
As long as I get to go do what I want to do after.
Yeah, it just gets boring after a while. That's
exactly. But it was awesome for me. One, I was always like the last one, like the least amount of time with the kids, because I worked longer hours. It was me, so that was a new thing for me. It was fun. But like I said, it put in perspective that material things and working just to work, just to get things, is not. No. It's not going to fulfill you at all.
I got a couple of things on that. Like, so first, that's my biggest fear in this career path, because I see it all the time, is these guys burn themselves out, girls too, burn themselves out. And
engineering.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, for the engineers. They just dedicate themselves to their work because they love what they do, right? Their first passion is usually the engineering field. It's probably not their wife, like, if I'm being honest with you, right? It's probably not their kids either. Some of them, but for the most part, they're very career orientated, and those are their passions. And like, I understand once you have a family and you kind of get past that, and it's like you still have your own life to live. And so you want to pursue that. But a lot of them don't take a step back and get to, a lot of them almost don't even get to be a part of their children's lives. It's more like high and by.
Yeah, no.
And like for me, it's like, what kind of quality of life are you living? You're making all kinds of money, sure. Yeah. Right? Yeah, you're making more money than you've ever seen, sure. Are you happy?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it comes down to, right? Yeah. If I'm getting up every morning and I love my job, that's cool. But if I come home at the end of the day and I'm miserable, now it's not cool.
Exactly. Now it's pointless. And a lot of people in America focus on, they just get stuck in that
career
process.
The career.
And it's pointless.
So that's my other point I was going to say. My dad's funny, right? Like, I didn't have much coming up, and like, I don't blame him. He's got his own demons, devils, whatever it was. But even as we got a little older, my dad wasn't like the greatest provider, let's be honest. But my dad is one of the best teachers I've ever had in my life. And my father was always big. He got this mentality now where like he's a little older, and like he kind of just like, he believes in like on a whim, right? Where like I'm very like rigorous, math minded. Like I gotta have the formula, I gotta have the steps, and then how we getting there, right? He's like, it'll come.
Go with the flow, guy.
Right? Yeah. And like to me, it's always just like,
I gotta make it happen.
How can you live how can you go to sleep at night like without worrying yourself? Like
that's the dynamic of me and my wife.
So I had to almost like learn like why how can you live like this, and why does it matter? And it really is QOL, man. Quality of life. It's the biggest thing. It's the only thing that matters for yourself at the end of the day. What is your quality of life? It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter how much stuff you have, right? It doesn't matter how good looking your wife is. Nope. None of that matters,
what
bro.
What car you drive.
None of it. None of it matters.
Everything else is messed up. It doesn't. Like look at what you said. You said your dad might not have been the greatest of providers, but he was a great teacher. And he was there.
Yes,
he was.
Oh,
there.
My dad. That I'll never take that away from my father. I know so many of my friends that their dad was alive and not there. Not even like in jail, incarcerated, or dead. He was there in low. It just wasn't around.
Just working probably or whatever.
Or not even taking care of the kids. Just completely separate from their lives. Like that was more often than not.
Than not, yeah.
Yeah, like. I think you're kind of lucky if you come from a lower income type of place where it is a mixed, like blending pot of cultures and races, to actually have a father figure who stays in there and like does all that stuff, right? And everything that you you do for your children and stuff like that. And I know a lot of kids who, bro, you get this big macho issue, right? When your dad's not around and like you don't know about that, like you don't know how to be loved by like another man, like not no gay stuff, none of that.
No, I get you.
Like you have your friends, you go to bat for your friends, you love your friends, right?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So like, but when you're young and your father's not around to show you what that love is like that, you know, you don't know what that's like, right? You don't know. And so it brings up like a lot of like, I got to prove I'm a man. Yeah. It's like, you don't got to prove nothing,
and
bro.
It goes the wrong way. See, like in one of my other podcasts, I said, I felt like I had an advantage because I had two great fathers. So I felt like I was already ahead because everybody else was in that situation.
Yeah, it's like no dad.
No dad, exactly. Or if he was there, he was just, working all the time.
Never saw him. Okay.
Exactly. So I had the experience of both. So I have my real dad who lives in Dominican Republic, who was always there for me. And then when I moved here with my mom, she had a husband, and he turned out to be awesome, cool, great also. And I also call him my father. So I always tell people, like, I'm ahead because of that, because I seen it.
Yeah.
Growing up with my friends.
So now you know what it's like to be a dad.
Exactly. Like and my dad was there, Yep. Like right now, I turn down money. Like I could make more money. Mm-hmm. I choose not to because it takes away from
your kids,
my kids. And they're good already. So like I have,
So that's a question. How much is the time with your kids worth? And to you, it's worth more than that money you turn down. So there, to me, I say it in business all the time. You're probably familiar with this term, but opportunity cost.
Yes.
I say it to my partner Ramon. I say it to him all the time. It's opportunity cost. Yes. That is how you make decisions. If you're gonna go make this decision, the way you figure out if it's right or wrong, you look at all the alternatives and you weigh those against it. And if that's the best decision, that has the minimum cost compared to the other opportunities, you go there. But if not, now you're losing. So you're losing out because you're not taking advantage of that other opportunity, right? So
exactly.
It's a big thing where you try to like manage and stuff. And like, yeah, you can't put a dollar amount on certain things unless you actually sit down and think about it. And like, then it's like, this is almost priceless.
Exactly. And a lot of people learn that late. Yep. I had the advantage to figure it out early. And again, I think it's because I have my dad's there. So we were never rich, right? But there was always a house. We always had food. The minimum, which is really what you need. That's all you really need.
Yeah.
And we were happy. Everybody was together.
Yeah. And
we were struggling with, the regular, everybody's working and, the day-to-day things. Mm-hmm. But we were happy. Mm-hmm. And I don't think if you switch that around and you give us more money, but my dad's working all the time and he had no time for us growing up.
Yeah. No, I know what that's like, bro. I know where you're coming from. It's like you don't have money, but you got plenty of love.
Exactly.
So your bank account's full.
When later on you remember about your dad, you don't remember anything that your dad. I can't remember gifts.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't remember gifts.
I see what you're saying.
When I think of,
you remember the lessons taught.
I remember lessons and things that he taught me that helped me in life.
Yep.
Your dad did it. From what you're telling me, your dad did that. He was a good teacher.
Oh yeah.
You're never gonna resent. You're never go resentment towards your dad. No. Now all the kids that maybe have money but no time with dad, they'll resent their dad.
Yeah. And then they'll act out to other men in society and in the way that they feel anger.
Exactly. The wrong man.
Exactly. Because they're looking for a father figure. Yes. That is very common for young men who don't have a proper father. Is they'll go to the next one, and that's why you have the gang culture so prevalent, right? Yes. That's what allows
family.
It. That's what allows it to be prevalent. Is the promise. And bro, not to take anything away from it, because they do provide that sense of family, and you know what I'm saying. So like when people who gangbang, like, I get it, because like you feel like you don't have something in your corner, or you came up and somebody else that you were really close to went off in that way and you followed them, right? And so I understand that from that perspective. Yeah. The problem isn't with the gangs. The problem is with
they do.
The families that allow the the children and all that to then go to the gangs, and then like you said, then what they do on the back end. Sure,
Exactly.
but
if the gangs were positive, nobody would even talk about it.
Okay, well, let's talk. Like you think about like the Crips, right? Back Tukey Williams back in the 70s out in California, they weren't out there like
It wasn't
fucking with people, right, bro? There was an offshoot of the Black
protecting-
Panthers. That's
Exactly.
that's how it started. It was
Exactly.
fight the man, fight the power,
Exactly.
and then it turned into like, oh, we got to use violence to do this, right? Oh, we got to think more like Malcolm X and
money stuff.
yeah.
Once
So,
money gets into
but
it.
like the original thought behind it was like we need a sense of community.
Exactly.
And then how do we do that? So you have things like in Lowell, like the East Movement. That was a
Yes.
big thing, right? And that is a group of people kind of coming together and creating a community. Those type of things are like invaluable because what it does is provide structure. What we don't have nowadays in society is church. Nobody goes to church, right? People used to always go to church.
Yeah.
And so there's a lack of an understanding of community. What we have replaced it with is social media. So if we can move away from that, I think,
that would be great.
Right.
I forget who it was on something you just mentioned. I'm messed up that I don't remember who said this because this is not my words. I just can't remember who said it, but it goes along the lines of the heaven has fallen. You know, when we were growing up,
skies are falling.
Yeah,
but it's
we
almost
feared
the church type of thing. Yeah, okay.
No, it's like heaven has fallen in the term of like we don't believe in it anymore. When we were growing up, like you going to hell, that meant something.
Yeah, fear of hell.
Like
in a
we
sense,
had the
right?
fear of like,
or like even like our parents' generation, like they kind
Exactly.
of like it's instilled into them.
church provided a structure. Look, you could go
Community
into
structure.
exactly. You could go into whether what God or what religion. I'm not saying that. I'm talking
same here,
about
right.
all religions do one basic thing. It's just
Bring
provide a
people
structure.
together and give them a common sense of faith and
like-
ethics to kind of follow.
and rules of how to treat people.
Yeah.
That's basically all churches do
Yep.
that, no
Yep.
matter which creed. But
I try to explain to people all the time the reason like people around here have certain values is literally because they're Judeo-Christian values.
yes,
That's it. Like if you think about like, I'm sure you get the right person on here. They probably tell you like, stealing's not that bad, right?
yeah,
Right. Murder's probably not that bad in the right context,
exactly.
right? So there's a gray area for everything like that.
Of course.
Think about like cannibalistic societies. You go out there. Do you think they think murder's wrong? No.
No.
Are they wrong for thinking that? You only say yeah because you have Judeo-Christian beliefs.
Exactly.
But if you grew up where they grew up, it wouldn't be wrong to you.
Completely normal.
So that's culture is a big part of that, right? How you get brought up, how do you get
Exactly.
assimilated in society, and so
that's what the guy means by like this. The sky has fallen for the generation that's coming.
Got you.
There is no fear of God. There's no well, if I do these things, I'll make it to a better place. Doesn't matter. And like I said, look, I'm not like the religious person in the sense of I'm going to church every day. I don't, I believe in God. I don't practice it in the way that you're taught nowadays. I don't like my kids. They've learned, like I taught them, what church is and what religion is and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I want them to learn it.
Yep.
But it's not, in the way of like, well, the Bible is 100% correct.
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's
Right.
when you have a your relationship with God, do these things that he says, but the rest of it that comes with it, it is what it is. Cause you see what some churches do, or, these crazy wars that are religion based. So sometimes people take it too extreme.
Yeah.
But having it in a healthy level is great for society, as we could tell.
So I would even argue that even like atheism is its own religion, right? Where it provides a sense of community with people with like-minded ideas can get together and discuss those ideas with each other, right? So atheists can bond together in the same way Christians can bond, in the same way Muslims can bond.
Exactly.
Right? And so that in its own right provides that sense of community structure.
Exactly.
And like how you want to interpret God or whatever
higher power you believe in.
Yeah, whatever unexplainable phenomena, however you want to, that's cool with me. I don't care, right? But like, does that influence your ethics and morals in a way that like gels with society in a sense that like I agree with, right? Like I believe in Judeo-Christian values because like I was raised that way, but I agree with a lot of them. You don't steal, you don't kill, you don't commit adultery, right? All those things. And so I think having that code and that honor is like, that's the first step. And then the second step is sticking to it.
Exactly.
Right.
And I believe that provides a structure for you. And
yeah, big time.
It's hard, right? It's not easy. It's like following those rules at all times is not an easy thing to do.
No.
But I believe those people live a better life. If you have those structures to follow and that guidance, I think and then you see it all the time. You see all these people that at first didn't believe it, but as they're getting older, they come back to it.
It is like
come
that.
Back to it.
In a sense, right? Because you feel like you go to, I think it's not necessarily just school, but like as you start to get older, like things that seemed big mysteries stopped seeming like big mysteries, right? Oh, that's how that works? Oh, okay. And like, so then as you get older, it's like, well, maybe all the things that, they taught me about religion and God, I can try to explain away somehow, and I'll figure out a way to go about it, right? Atheists are always like, well, the simple answer is the best answer, right? And like, I'd like to think myself as agnostic, right? I just kind of don't believe in a God in a sense, right? Yeah. But that doesn't mean that I don't think that it's important to know who you are and to live and die by it, right? Like, I feel like you're only as good as your word. And like, 100%. Regardless of if you believe in God or not, I think to me, that's a principle you need to carry with yourself throughout anywhere. So if you're going to say something, you do it. If you feel a certain way, you do it. If you don't want to be treated a certain way, you don't treat others that way. Exactly. Those type of things, right? So
simple, so simple.
I think so.
But it's getting lost. Those simple things are like disappearing.
I think so.
Right? A lot of people.
Like, how many people from the same community just like crabs in a bucket, right?
Yes.
Crabs in a bucket is like the epitome of what it's like growing up here and coming from here. There's so many people who, instead of helping each other out, just step on each other.
Yes.
And it's like, why?
Yes.
Neither of you are going anywhere. What are you doing?
That is so true. I experienced it with this. Now, I through time and like I said, through business, I have learned a lot of things. So I never let it get because whenever people see somebody doing something, somebody always has to have a comment. Somebody always has to have some negative of why they're doing it and they're not doing it, and and I experienced it with this. Now I don't let it bug me. I don't let it one thing with starting this was like, I'm not gonna let nobody influence anything negative. If they're negative, I'm not gonna let it influence me. Positivity, depending on what it is.
You know what I think that really is? I think that's you shaking out the cobwebs of your own doubts.
That's true too.
You know what I'm saying? Because like at the end of the day, what's somebody gonna tell you that isn't your own reflection? Like, if I come up to you and I tell you something, you don't believe it, you're just going to brush it off. But if you kind of believe what I'm telling you, you're going to internalize it, and then it's going to affect you more.
Exactly.
So if somebody's coming to you and they're hating on something here, the only way you're going to feel a certain way about it is if deep down you already felt that way about it.
I don't believe in myself either.
Feel me?
Exactly.
But if you got utmost confidence in yourself, can't nobody tell you nothing.
Exactly.
Right?
It was like what we were talking about before. I don't think we weren't recording, but how many people said they were going to come help?
They just don't.
For you with the restaurant and the truck, or with me in the studio.
It's like, and like, not to throw jabs, but it's like it's almost like it's gotten to a point now when people say they're gonna do, I almost just like, sure. I believe it when it happens. Exactly. Yeah. It's like when I see it, yeah.
Then I believe it.
I'm not getting excited about it. I'm not, and that's my own fault, right? Because I get my hopes up, and now I get let down.
Exactly.
That's not their fault. That's my fault.
Exactly.
That's my fault.
Exactly. Yeah. So you've been through it. You like
that was hard to learn.
Yes.
That was hard because with shoes on the other foot, I say something, I'm gonna be there.
Exactly.
And I expect everybody else to be the same way, but when they're not. Okay.
Exactly. You and I had to learn that with a lot of people. I had to learn that with within my friends or even with my wife, where it was like, if I could do it, you should be able to do it. And
that's not true.
That is not true at all,
bro. That's a hard one too.
And that is a lot difficult. Of people don't get to learn. Like now, it helps you out so much once you figure that out. That bro, everybody's not the same.
So I'll say something. Working with Ramon has taught me a lot of that stuff, right? So Ramon, you the business partner, right? When it comes to like, if we got to do something on the truck, Ramon doesn't have experience in something. So he'll come to me and he'll be like, how are we going to do this? Right? I don't know. I don't have experience either, but I can solve a problem. And
once you start, you just have to start.
I got it. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And that's what I'm good at.
Yeah.
And so I'll solve the problem. And then we work together on making the solution a reality. Flip the switch. Put us in a kitchen. I have no clue what the hell's going on. And I'm over there like,
what do I do, bro?
Tell me where to be, right? Yeah. What do you want me to do? Like, what's going on? Yeah. And like, don't get me wrong. I've worked in a kitchen enough. I know like how to run the front end and how to work with him to control the back end. It's just a truck, right? Yeah. But at the same time, it was like learning these types of things where I'm like, bro, you just got to kind of think about it. But I realized that he's not wired that way. In his brain, he's better at other things.
Exactly.
And so when I tell him just stop and think about it, it might actually just take him longer than just me stopping to think about it, right? Or like with the dish, like I'm going to go do something like, and it'll take me 10 minutes to get something ready. He's like, get out of the way. Like I got this, right? And it's like, okay.
No,
sure.
that comes with just being around a person also.
And learning, yeah.
Yeah, because that comes like, I'll bring it back to my wife. I was, in the beginning, it was like that a lot, It's like you said, I'm the one worrying about the future and I'm trying to make things happen. She's the type where it's like, la, 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 and things just happen.
Yeah, yeah.
And
like
I'm
my
like,
pops, yeah.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of that. I'm like, how do you live this way?
Yeah, good. I can't sleep at night like that.
Like I can't sleep. And then she's like, you worry too much. So we complement each other.
Okay.
Because
she brings you down to the reality.
She's like, and then I'm like, okay, you need to step up a little bit.
Yeah, like, what are you doing?
Things don't just happen. You got to make them happen. So we kind of like level each other out. Because if I was with somebody that was the same way, I'll be dead of a heart attack.
Yep.
Right now. Because it's just too much. She slows it down. Because I'm always like 2 years ahead of where I'm at right now.
You just move. You're trying to plan it out too. And like with the kids too, it's like, that's the other thing too, is like you don't want to fall behind when you got to provide for them, right? So it's like, if it was just you two, cool, right? Like you could let her slip up. That's that. But you guys got a family. You guys are a whole crew, team, however you want to look at it. But like, so you got to kind of be the checks and balances, right? And like, yeah, like.
And that's what a healthy relationship is. If you have two people that do the same thing, nothing gets done.
Nothing. So
you need to have the difference, but you need to learn to appreciate those differences in the person that you're with, whether it's your partner, in a relationship, or is it your partner at your job.
Mm-hmm.
I have a partner that came in to help me after a lot of people didn't, right? And we do different things. And that's what makes it work.
Yeah.
If we were both doing the same thing, you don't get nowhere.
No.
With him, it's just like, all right, well, I have this vision. He's like, okay. And he works out a way to try to bring that into life.
Mm-hmm.
If he was different, he'll be like, no, but let's change this and let's change. Yeah. He's never done that. And that's why I appreciate him so much, because he just goes like, that's your vision? All right, we'll work to make that happen.
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Like, there's other people where they'll be like, yeah, but you should do it this way.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, but this is how I see it.
That's not my vision, right?
Exactly.
That's your vision.
Exactly.
You took my vision and made it your own.
Exactly. And he never wanted to do podcasting. He still doesn't.
Gotcha.
So it works because of that,
Gotcha.
So that's, when it comes to partnerships in any kind, you have to learn to appreciate each other's differences.
I got a story. So we were doing the plumbing for the truck, and we had the sinks. So in the food truck, I'll explain, right? So it's mandatory to have a 3-bay sink, right? Wash, rinse, dry. Yeah. Regulations. And then you also need a hand washing sink. And so what we did was we were smart enough to put those next to each other, and so we can minimize the amount of actual like PVC we needed to do the actual plumbing. Anyways, the plumbing meets up together inside of the truck, and it goes through into one pipe, and it goes into our gray water bucket. But the problem with that is, like, when it came through the floor. We had some like weird shapes to get it up into where it needed to go and all this stuff. And so
it wouldn't flow right.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever done plumbing or anything like that, but like when you put these guys together, like, you know, you got angles and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So you do a dry fit first, you mark everything, and then you glue it all together with your dry fit. Okay, so we were working out there, and you know, I go out there and Ramon's like, "Oh, how are we gonna do this? Like, how do we angle this to do that?" I sat there with them for about 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I should back up. So I'm working from home at the time. And so like, this is why I'm not out there with him. He's working on the truck, and I'm just like, if he needs me, he'll put me in. So, all right, we're fixing the truck, building it up. Pulls me out, do the plumbing stuff. He's like, how do I maneuver this, right? And I'm like, well, you're going to have to cut this off right here, shorten this, and put it back in. And he's like, okay, cool. And then I go back inside. Half hour later, I come back out. Ramon's sitting there. He's like all frustrated. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's just like, bro, I just did the thing and blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at him and I'm like, I literally just told you what to do. You didn't do it. And now we're in this position. And he goes to me. He's just like, bro, why do you act like I'm a plumber and I know how to do all this shit? And I look at him. I was like, what plumbing license do I have? Like, both of us as amateurs.
Exactly.
But it blew up. And it blew up, and it got to a point where Ramon, he'll, because we're boys, we've been boys a while. He knows how it goes. He just left. He's like, all right, screw you, bro. I'm out. And I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever, bro. But like, you know, we had to butt heads first, and like, yeah, we did some dumb shit, and like, I told you how to do something, you did it wrong, blah blah blah. But how I handled the situation, it was completely wrong, right? And so like, that taught me that like, if I want to have success in a business and like work with another person, I need to adapt the way that I would go about doing stuff and be amenable to their styles as well.
Yes. And also when it comes to business and partnerships, you have to let things go.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So like on my job, right? I'm not the owner of this company, right? But if you we go into a meeting and you hear me talk, you would think I was the owner, because we talk. There is no like, well, you're the boss and I only talk to you this way because you're the boss. Mm-hmm. It's like, no. If you run a business, there's problems all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter what business it is. Mm-hmm. So if you're running it, your job is to fix the problems when they're happening. So if you go to like our office at 6 a.m. and it's a bad day, just fans are breaking down, people calling out, whatever, the snow, whatever. People get angry, things are said, but you the problem's fixed, you move on. Yeah. You can't dwell on that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Because I've seen that a lot of people are too sensitive when it comes to that.
So when we work, when we on the truck, that's the one rule. There's no emotions in the kitchen. Yeah. There's none. If you want to have feelings and emotions, don't show up for work that day. Exactly. We don't need that in the kitchen. Exactly. Because I'm going to yell at you. You're going to yell at me. Yeah. And if anybody feels the type of way about it, we ain't going to make any progress. Exactly. And that's okay. We need to understand that. I'm going to be disrespectful. I'm going to yell at you. Yep. And I don't mean to do it in a personal manner. I'm in the zone right now. Exactly. We're working. I need something.
We need to get this shit done.
That's it.
At the end, when everything works out, tap it up. Good job. No hard feelings. Bro. We come back the next day. Yeah, and no issues.
Yeah, we don't have to apologize either, right? You shouldn't have to apologize. Exactly. It should be an understood thing. Like this, inside of these walls, inside, and within these confines, like this is how it is. It is
exactly. Yeah, I learned that. Like I said, I had the opportunity to learn from some cool people, and they were Russians. Okay. If you know Russian culture, there is no.
I'm not familiar. I ain't gonna lie.
The feeling of like Russian people are straight up to the point. If you're fat, you're fat.
You're blunt. They're blunt.
They're blunt. Yeah. There is, and they. If you don't know, you would think they're assholes. Like it took me a little bit to learn that. It's like no. Like these, like they taught me so much.
Oh, like they're calling you fat, but they're not trying to be mean to you. They're just like making an observation.
That's what it is.
You literally are just fat. Like
if you do some dumb shit, hey, stupid.
Yeah, that was
fucking dumb.
Yeah,
it's not like a personal. It's attack. Not like. It's just what there was at that moment.
And that's a societal thing. That's a correction thing. Like, why do we get embarrassed? Because we need to correct our behaviors in society. Exactly. And so when they do that, it's like, you need to correct that behavior because it's not cool in society. Exactly. Or something, right? Like,
they would tell me like, hey, you like at first when I first got there, you know, I was not used to that. Everybody's Russian. I'm the only one that's not Russian. They speak their language and I don't speak their language. And I'll be there sometimes and I'm like, they're gonna kill each other. They're fight like they're like literally like at each other, and I'm thinking like, oh,
this isn't gonna end well. Like,
this company's not gonna go nowhere. They're gonna sell. The day will be done. They'll be in the back room drinking and laughing like nothing ever happened. And then
that's crazy.
I will tell them like, to the point where like if they mess up, I'm like, hey, you fucking idiot. Now I gotta fucking fix it.
Yeah, now.
And so even though he's the boss, he knows he made a mistake and I'm right, so he just takes it.
Gotcha.
There's no...
And that's understood.
Exactly. Yep. It's like, all right, I did fuck up or fuck. I gotta deal with this motherfucker talking shit for the rest of the day.
That's cool.
Exactly. And that's okay, because I did mess up.
So, and in the engineering field, I would say that's harder to do because you don't have as many personalities that can take that type of damage. Yeah. So one of the things
restaurant business people are used to things like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
They got tough skin.
Yes.
So, but if when these people are used to things a certain way, and so the real recent things I've been putting on was the team lead at work. And so my job is to kind of delegate tasks to other people and like kind of stay organized and stuff like that. My boss, my actual boss brought me into the office and he goes, the game is trust. Is all that matters. What you're doing here is you're just earning trust. And as long as you earn trust, you're doing your right job. And like, it took me a little bit to understand like the oversimplification of it. But if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. When you're a manager or you're in charge of others or other people are looking to you for guidance and like how to do stuff, right? At the end of the day, you have a goal that you need to get to, right? You have a task or whatever it may be. And like the biggest factor that's going to push you there is if like everybody trusts each other to pull their own weight to get there. Yes. Right. And so one of the big things at work is if like I tell you that I'm going to get you something, you're going to have it in your hand either later that day or tomorrow. Exactly. And that way, when I go and I ask you for something and you tell me I'm going to have it, I better fucking have it. Yeah. And if I don't, bye-bye. I'll get somebody else for the team.
Exactly.
Right. So those are the type of things you have to, but then you have to manage personalities because there's people who like you could sit there and you could tell them like, bro, you fucked up. Like you need to fix this. They'll laugh it off and go fix it. Other people will cry in the corner.
Exactly.
Like, damn, I'm a piece of shit. Like, oh, the world's falling around me. And it's like, nah, bro, you're perfect. You just made one little mistake and everybody does it. Just go back and fix it.
Exactly. And then at that moment in time, I don't have the time to be like, hey, buddy, like.
Sometimes I have to do that, though, depending on who the team member is. So it's
that's very
tough.
True.
That is tough.
Managing people. That's what a manager does.
Because I'm thick skinned. I'm like, bro, like we got shit to do. Just go fucking do it. Like, what's the matter? Like, you know, but some people are like,
That's tough. It makes it harder when you have to work with people that way. Yeah. When you could just say whatever you have in your mind.
But some of these guys
worrying about offending somebody.
It's weird because they're smarter. I know they're smarter than me, right? I know it. Like it's actually awesome. Like growing up, I was one of the smarter kids, but like at my work, I'm one of the dumber people. So like it's cool because like I'm a little bit better with people than I am like sticking my face in a book. And I'm good at books. Don't get me wrong, right? I got 2 masters. I'm an engineer. Don't get me wrong, but I do have people skill set. So like there's people that like subject matter experts. They could tell you on the back of their hand like this is how you do something, right. But their attitude and their work ethic sucks. Yeah, it's terrible. So it's just like, you know so much, but I got to be the one to put that into motion. And I got to do it in a timely fashion because we got a deadline to hit. So how do I pull that out of you and get it working? Right. And that's trust is how you do that.
Yes. And that's again, you have to trust the people around you to get things done. That's a big thing when it comes to like military or it's all built on trust. I have to be able to, if you say something, you're going to do it.
You got to do it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's getting rare nowadays.
And I hate that. And I hate that because that's one of my that's always been my big things. Like one of my mantras is like, don't talk about it, be about it. Yep. That's one of my big ones. And I feel like a lot of people get caught in this like talking about it, right? Let's talk about these. I got all kinds of ideas. Let's talk about it. No, you need to be about it.
I throw off people because I like I have friends, like I said, when I was building the studio, like I said I was gonna do it, and because I wasn't talking to them every day about it, they're like,
they thought you weren't doing nothing.
Then all of a sudden they're like, bro, what the fuck?
Where'd this come from?
Exactly. It's like, I told you I was gonna do it, so I did it. Like it's simple to me, but I throw people off when it comes to that shit because people are like, what? Or like if I say I'm gonna do something, I do it point blank, and it's becoming rare for some people because they're like, I'm not used to that, and I'm like, that's all I'm used to. At least for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it's weird too because like it goes back to you kind of want to be treated the same way, and that's why you do it.
Yes.
But you don't get it in return, yet you still do it, right? Because it's your principle, it's how you feel, your code, right? And so I'm with you, right? Like I feel like if actually this is a good thing. I'm trying to actually now more recently past like year even like under the year is try to figure out what's the difference between like an obligation and like a necessity.
Yes.
Right. So like if I give you my word to do something, now I commit to an obligation.
That's an obligation.
Is it a necessity? So what I need to do is either one, stop committing to so many obligations, or realize that there's priority on some obligations. Right. So like if I
can, others.
Yeah. Right. And so like if I get into hot water where it's like I say I'm going to do something, so I go and do it, but then I get mad at myself because I didn't really want to do it. Gotcha. At the time, right?
Yeah.
So that's something you got to be careful of. And it's one of my friends. She's been talking to me, and like every time I'm like I get upset over an obligation, she goes, "There you go again, setting yourself up." Yeah. And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." And so now I'm learning like I still got to follow my word, but I don't have to give it out all the time like that. And I gotta kind of approach that in a way that makes the most sense for me because it goes back to quality of life.
Yes.
I don't want to commit to something and then feel like a piece of shit or be mad at myself for doing it, and then I go into it with some attitude or whatever it may be. Exactly.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned. Like I learned to cancel if I don't feel like it, just because.
So right, okay.
Because if and I also encourage the guests, if you don't feel like it,
like you
don't worry about it.
But you saw me, right? So I was big.
You already like I already told them I was gonna do it,
so I got to do it.
Exactly.
That's me. That's my mentality.
Yes, and I knew it. That's why I sent you that message. Like, bro, don't
be that
feel
way.
Like because.
But I'm gonna do me, and I knew today would work out. I knew, and the other thing too is like if I never was like committed to it in my head, I probably would have kept pushing it off, and then like just working. So exactly. I was like, nah, bro, I kind of want to go hang out and talk and chat, and like. I don't need to bust 10 hours of work today. Like I'll leave when I leave, regular 8-hour day. I'll pull up here and we can chit chat. And like, so I was like, all right, let me actually make this my obligation and commit to it. Cause I know like I'll be okay.
I want to do it. Yeah. Cause I at first, like I was struggling with that because I would have a bad day at work. Like, you know, my job is unpredictable. I don't know when I'm getting out. It depends what happens that day. So like sometimes I'll tell somebody I'm going to be there at 6. All of a sudden it's 5:45. I'm still at work, and then you want me to come home straight from that
to you.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah,
and and it's not
that doesn't work.
I can't fake it.
Yeah.
So I had to learn to instead of doing that, just be like, you know what? It's not the time. I'm not in the right mind space. Let me not do it. Now that also depends on what it is, right? With you, I didn't care if I was tired from work. I didn't care about any of that, right? There's a level of
we can just hang out,
exactly. But if it's somebody I don't know,
you want to be present.
I want to be
mentally.
present. I want to be like all there for them.
Yeah.
And if I'm not that way, better not do it because it's not gonna come out right.
Yeah.
So better like know. Then also, like I said, there's a balance because if I promise something and they need it, like I have one person that needed it for like a music video they were coming out. Like they needed to do promo for that.
Yeah.
That one I'm like, all right, well, this has a time thing behind it, so we have to do it no matter how I feel.
That's the priority.
Matter.
Yep.
Exactly. Like with you, I canceled when I was like sick because I'm like, it's not gonna be good because I'm, you know, I don't feel good and I sound terrible.
So last Sunday, it was Sunday, right? I had to cancel. I think it was Sunday.
Yeah,
it was Sunday.
We
so we planned on Saturday, moved it to Sunday for whatever, and then I'm like, Honestly, you know what it was? Is I'm looking at all this snow, and like if I wanted to get here, I would have had to bust ass to clean all the snow.
Exactly.
And the only reason I was busting ass to clean the snow was to get here. So I'm like, yo, bro, honestly, like I'm not, let me like show you like what I'm dealing with too, and like to explain that's the other thing too, is I don't like to just cancel on people. So I'll tell them the reason, but I also don't want them to think like, oh, he's giving me a story.
Exactly.
So that's like a thin line right there.
And the thing is, that comes from people. Like if you know me, you don't question it, right? Because you know my character.
Yeah, it's understood.
Exactly,
right?
It's already there. But and also what people are used to. Nowadays, people are used to just people giving them the runaround.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
saying things and not doing it.
Yeah, so you want to be careful.
Exactly, because then that's how they take it.
Yep.
But I knew right away you were the type of person that he's over there like beating himself up for canceling.
Yes.
And it's like,
yes,
it's all right. Like
I'm that guy.
Yeah, me too. That's why
I'm
I know.
That guy.
That's me.
Like, fuck, man, I committed to this. I got to go do it. If I don't do it, I'm a piece of shit. Blah,
exactly.
blah, blah. And you don't feel good until you get confirmation from the other person that you're off the hook.
You're okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then it's like, oh, you're good? Oh, I'm fine now. Yeah. And everything's back to normal, right?
Exactly. But that's good, though. That's good.
You got to learn that, though, yeah.
There's accountability, and you're a man of your word. So that, like, if you want to be, that's going to happen. If you're a man of your word, you canceling on your word is gonna bug you.
Yeah.
It should, and it doesn't. If it doesn't, I don't want you around me.
Exactly. Or we can hang out, but that's about the extent of that.
Exactly.
I agree. Yeah. I agree big time. And like I don't know. Principle's always kind of been a big thing with me because like I never really had like home, like doesn't really like, I bounced around a lot when I was younger and all this stuff, and like mom, dad, aunt, like, so it's like you don't really have this like solid like home type of base, right? And so like for me, you kind of like needed to be able to like navigate while you were outside of that structure that wasn't even there to begin with. And so like a lot of that was challenging in its own right, just trying to figure out how to like incorporate that into this whole mess. So It's just like, what am I going to do?
It's tough, but you live and you learn. So how did you become an engineer? Because
that's a good question. All right. Okay. I'll tell you.
Like, was that like when you were in school, you knew you were smart? Like, this is what I'm doing.
So I went to Lodi, right? You went to Lodi too.
No, I went to the Voc.
Oh, you did
yes,
go. Oh yeah. No, actually I knew that. Knew that. So at Lodi, one of the things I did was I was actually they had this like math team, and it was kind of cool. Don't get me wrong, I did it just to do it because like I love math, but like I didn't tell nobody I did it, right? And I would have people come up to me and be like, "Josh, you're on a math team?" And I'd be like, "Who the hell are you? How do you know that?" And then I found out like, so the way Lodi is, they got the old building, they got the new building. Old building, it's got the floors 4, 5, 6. New building 1, 2, or is it backwards? Maybe I got backwards. I haven't been in high school in forever, whatever. But you come up and it's like one of the main buildings right outside the library, and they had a poster and they had the math team on it, and they had my name right in the middle, right? And so like, I always play ball. You know that I always play ball. I love playing ball. I'm 5'9", bro. I can't dunk. I can't yam it, and I'm really good at math. So I knew what I wanted to do. I went to UMass Lowell. I got my degree in math, like all the way up to my master's. From there, I got a job at a publishing company. It's called Gex Incorporated. It's actually in Atkinson, New Hampshire. So I don't know, probably you don't, not familiar, but like they have these programs online for like math students, and what they'll do is they have these like problem sets, and they're automated, and it's like My College Math or something like that. The company I work for made those problems. But the problem was when I was working at that company, I was making like around $20 an hour, and like there was like little to no room for growth. So like, yeah, I got a job with my degree, and like, I felt like, oh, okay, blah, 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 whatever. But it wasn't really what I wanted. So
you're not going to grow there.
No. And so like I decided like I'm going to go back to school. Right. And so that's when I actually like finished. So I got my bachelor's, did that company there, went back, finished the master's for math, and I worked at TD Bank while I was doing that. After I finished the TD Bank stuff, the master's in math, I told TD Bank, I was like, I'm done. I'm going to Brazil. I took that month trip to Brazil, and I said, when I get back, I'm quitting. So here's my 2 weeks now, and I'm taking a month off of vacation because I had all that PTO or whatever, right? So like, this is pretty much my last day. There's nothing you could say because like,
I'm leaving. Yeah, exactly.
I'm done. When I came back, I had nothing. I had no money. I lived by myself, right? So I've done that since I was 19. I got an apartment, 5th Street. I lived there for the longest. And bro, I was doing some dumb shit to make ends meet. Let's put it that way, right? Like, let's be real.
Like we all did at some point.
Yeah, I did some things that I'm probably not too proud of to make ends meet. But for that, I had no other choice. I ain't gonna lie. But I knew, bro, it's like I got a master's. I'm smart, and like this is what I'm doing to like. My rent was like $600 a month, and I'm like getting by, bro. And it's like this doesn't make sense to me, right? And so I was struggling for a little bit, probably about a good so I went to Brazil January, February area. I came back early March. And like I said, I really didn't have much. So I was like, I got to find some work. So I had my godfather. He used to work on pools and stuff like that. And so I was like, bro, can you give me some work like coming up spring into summer? Like I got nothing going on. Like, and I didn't want to go back to the kitchen. I didn't want to, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I'm going to make this thing work. So for right now, let me just scrounge a couple of dollars until the pieces fall into place. So I start doing the pools with him.
And how old are you like around this time?
Let's see. So I would say 23.
Okay.
Yeah, 23. Yeah, 23 going on 24. The second job we worked, so we're laying the stuff on the pool, the gunite. It's called gunite. It's like a form of concrete basically, but like that's what they lay on the pools and all this stuff.
That's the flooring of it.
Yeah, so you see like a concrete pool. It's actually gunite is what it's called inside of there. It's not concrete technically.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this was our second job, and by this point I had put my application, like my resume, my resume all on Monster, and I got a call, and it was like the heavens called me, bro. It was crazy because like I got a call, and it was Dr. Rachel Learned. And she called me and she goes, hey, I came across your resume. I think you'd be like a perfect fit. You got a math background. We do electrical engineer stuff here. That's not really you, but what I actually want to bring you in for is like a lot of math-based stuff. And like my concentration was applied math, so I did like a lot of like engineering type math already. So I was like, I got nothing else going for me.
Exactly.
All right, cool. Yeah, let's do it. Like, you know what I mean? So she put me through a couple series of interviews. That went really well. What they were going to do is get me a spot as a contractor. So the way the lab works is they have these programs, and within the programs, they got a budget. And if you don't have enough employees, because the government limits how many employees you can have, what you do is you take some of that program money and you hire contractors, right? And so she goes, we're going to try to get you a contract position, right? It's not a staff position. It was just, you wanted me for a program. So I was like, all right, cool. So I go there, whatever, bang out the interviews in person, we touch base or whatever. And she goes, okay, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to give you a contract position. And I was like, oh, fuck, why? You know what I'm saying? And she, basically there was another candidate, just got his PhD, way more qualified than I was at the time for the job, right? And so, understandably so, I was like, all right, cool. That was Trey Shank, and like we worked together. Like great guy, taught me a lot. Like so, it was a blessing in disguise. But what she did for me is she goes, but I think you're such an ideal person that I don't want to lose you. And so what we'll do is we'll actually open up an internship position for you. And so I'd already finished school. I wasn't planning on going back to school, right? But we made it look like I was going to go pursue a PhD or something like that to tell HR like, oh, give me this position. Usually internships are about 3 months.
Yeah.
So I got the call from her June, maybe like early June, right? I started at the lab on July 5th, right? So that whole process was a really quick turnaround, and I was like already starting to work the internship. That went for 6 months. So I went back to the next January, and by the end of that 6-month tenure, that's when me and Ramon went back to Brazil. But I had got the contract position. So they opened a contract rec for me. I filled all that up. I actually got hired while I was in Brazil for that contracting position. Then while I was there doing the contracting position, my boss was like, do you want to do a PhD? And I'm like, maybe, sure, I guess. Because they have a program at the lab. It's called Lincoln Scholars. And they pay you 80% of your current salary as a stipend. And you get to go study. it could be Tufts, wherever it is, MIT, Northeastern, shit like that. So I was like, I mean, that would be ideal because they're footing the bill. But you're asking me to go back to school on my own dime. I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'll tell you what, I'll start taking classes so I can get some more experience off the job, get better at it, get some skill sets. So I did that. And then I got to a point where I was like, bro, this is kind of easy. Because I knew everything from work.
Exactly.
I was working all this. So I'd go home and my homework problems were like a joke compared to what I was doing at work.
It's backwards for kids that are not doing what you did.
Yeah.
They go to school and then they go to the job and they're like, what the fuck is this?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
So being on the job got me, and so I was like, actually, why don't I just do this? And so while I was working, I got my master's in EE. So I have the two. I have the one in the math and the one in the EE. And it was actually last October, I officially got hired as a lab employee. So no more contractor. Like
you're straight
yep,
through the company.
Pension, all that good stuff. So
nice. So it wasn't even like that's what you set out to do. It just kind of happened.
No, you want to know what I was trying to do during this time? I was trying to be an actuary.
So that
actuaries are, what they do is they work for insurance companies essentially, right? So if you have a premium on your car, and they tell you how much you got to pay for your car, and it's based off where you live, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah, and blah blah blah. That number comes from an actuary. That's the person who gives you that number. They basically use probability and statistics to kind of assess how much certain policies should cost based off risks and stuff like that. So the path to that is really hard because unless you're sponsored by a company, you got to go and take these tests on your own dime, and they're like not stuff you learn in school. They're like it's standard tests that like the Society of Actuaries like has developed and shit like this.
You
and like
have to be in there already to know.
They're some of the hardest tests. They were let's put it this way. The probability exam was the hardest math exam I'd ever taken, and I have a master's in math.
That's saying something.
Okay, the financial math wasn't too hard, but it was still pretty difficult. So I had those two tests under my belt, which was like, that's like, I think there's 7 of those tests, and there's a shitload, bro. And it's like, the next one was like $2,000, and like I didn't have no money, and it's just like, so I was in this like in between phase where like I'm a good candidate if somebody comes pick me up, but I actually don't have the skills and experience, and so you'd have to like pick me up to invest in me. And so I was applying to Liberty Mutual, I was applying to fucking you name it, Geico, any insurance company I could find. I almost got in with Liberty Mutual, so I almost was an actuary, but that didn't work out. So that's what I was trying to do. And
how long in school were you?
Oh, so I got my math master's so I did my bachelor's, left, came back, but I was already a leg up, so it only took me about 18 months after that to get my master's, right? So, and I was 23, and then it took me 3 years in total to get my electrical engineer master, but I'm working the whole time. So like I don't really consider that like.
Yeah, because it wasn't full time.
Yeah, it was part time, right? So if I was going like full time, it would have been different and like whatever. So if like you want to think about like how long was I in college for, I would say all in all probably about like 5 years.
Yeah, that's crazy to me, because
six. Yeah, 6.
I did college for 2 years just because that's what your parents tell you. That's what everybody tells you.
Our whole generation's like that, right?
If you don't go to college, you're...
No, I had 4 in the undergrad, 1.5, 7. It would be 7 total. 7 total.
That's crazy to me.
You said you did 2?
I did 2, and a lot of things happened. So I was going for electronics, and that field is kind of dying out when it comes to like soldering, the electronic part of it.
Do you tinker at all at home, like with the?
I used to, yeah. So
but not no more.
No, I used to build like strobe lights. I used to build
that's what I do.
Yeah, I used to build things like that.
Yeah, I fuck around at home all the time.
Yeah. See, that's what I mean. Like when you say engineer, like I know you could do you're able to do all these things, and for me, I didn't like it. I chose electronics because it was a high-paying job back then.
You thought it would be like
exactly
career forever.
Exactly.
Type of deal.
I would tell my parents, "Oh, I want to be this," and they're like, "That doesn't pay enough money. You got to do something if you're gonna go to school. Not something you like, something that pays money."
Yeah,
that's what you get told. So I did it for 2 years, and then I was like, "Well, my job outside of school, I was already gonna out earn what I would do if I graduated from my field.
Got you.
So then that kind of one, I didn't like it already.
That pushed you like
It's
from
like
it,
so wait, well, I'm not gonna like graduate to make less money. Like,
I'm gonna spend money to make less money.
Exactly. Like I was like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And I don't like school, so I'm doing it just
because you wanted the paper at the end that says you got a skill that you can go get employed with.
Exactly, and that's what my parents wanted me to do.
Yeah.
But then I was just like, you know what, this is not for me. I'm wasting my time. I need to do something else.
I told a lot of my friends that they're going to school just because everybody else is.
Exactly.
And that if you don't waste your time in school and you instead focus on something else that you're actually passionate about or a trade, you're going to make way more money and you're going to be way better off in 5 years than any of these kids are. I went to school for STEM. Like that's completely different. If you're doing science, technology, engineering, and math, you're going to go and get a job after.
Exactly.
If you're doing the other stuff, you're going to struggle and try to find a job to pay back your student debt.
I have friends that went to school and owe a bunch of money and don't make close to the money that I make.
I got 2 masters. The total amount of debt I accrued from 2 masters is $60,000. That's it.
That's not bad. Because I know friends that 100 something.
That's a BMW.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Some people pay a house to go to school.
Exactly.
2 houses to go to school.
Yeah.
It cost me a car to get 2 master's degrees.
Yeah.
That's the difference, right? I was local boy. I didn't pay for room and board. I lived at home.
Yeah.
I paid for my engineer degree. That one, I paid for that as soon as it came out. Like I don't owe anything on that. All this money is back from my undergrad and a little bit of my grad for the math, and it's still dirt cheap. And now you look at what I make.
Yeah.
Like
doesn't
you know what I'm saying? It's multiple of what I like. My yearly income is multiples of what I owe total debt from the 7 years of school.
And there's people that owe way more than they're
way
gonna
more.
make. That's crazy to
that
me.
they'll never pay off.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like, and then.
So how do you feel about that as somebody who like didn't go to school or like it wasn't for them or whatever? Like, do you think like student loan like forgiveness should be a thing, or are you against that? Like, how do you feel about student loan forgiveness? Because that's coming out of your pocket to pay for it, right?
Yes. Well, I told you I'm small government. I don't like the government involved in it.
So you hate it.
I'm old school. I think
you signed up for it. You
do it. Yeah, like you. And I'm just not.
What about the people who got like conned? Like the people who you just said everybody did it just to do it though. Is it really like a young 17, 18-year-old's fault though?
It's not.
Right?
It's not.
So that's the other side of it, I think.
Exactly. But it teaches responsibility. Right? If you get bailed out.
So then is it the parents' fault because they don't have the understanding of responsibility when they go sign for a loan?
It's not even the parents' fault because what my parents were telling me worked for them. In their era, you went to school, you made money. Mm-hmm. That died down with our era.
I think so.
So
unless it's STEM.
Exactly. It's only on those fields you'll make money.
Yeah.
That's it.
And
Anything else.
And the other ones, it looks like some people are even getting rid of just having a bachelor's requirement. So people don't waste the time getting skills that they don't need.
Exactly.
Or not getting any skills in general.
At all. So I don't think it's to blame on any because my parents are telling me what worked in their era. But the internet speed everything. Mm-hmm. It changed things way too fast that your parents are giving you advice that doesn't work anymore.
Doesn't. No.
And they're fighting on it because that's what you did as a parent. Like, no, this is what you do. This is how it works.
Could you imagine like if one of your kids was like a big YouTube sensation and started making more money than you? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, how could you stomach that though?
Dude, it's look at video games. Our old parents our whole life. Yeah, that's a waste of time.
Yeah, bro. Now you can make millions. Look at so kid I went to high school with, right? The Ricky Bankston, the FaZe Clan.
Oh yes,
right?
Yeah, FaZe Banks. Yeah,
the FaZe Banks. That's Ricky Bankston from Low High.
Exactly.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
I just saw him at Target. Yeah, literally like 3 weeks ago.
So he's paid from gaming, right?
Exactly.
So like, there's opportunities out there, but if you go back in the day, all he did was sit around and fucking play video games all day.
Exactly.
That's all he did.
Exactly.
But now
he was taking
loaded.
that shit from his parents.
And now he's loaded, right? Yeah. So like, I agree with you. It's a new age. So then I got another question for you. As being a dad, how do you feel about screen time?
I okay, so you have to control screen time, just because, and it's not about because of video games. Our video games, we were not interacting with so many random people. So as a father, I don't want my kids, everybody having access to my kid in a video game.
Okay.
So that's the only reason why.
So you're worried more about the social implications of it.
Oh,
and like,
yeah, because like I see it, like my kids have all the systems, right?
Okay.
They have all the systems, but there's grown-ups playing these games.
Yep.
With
other grown-ups
a
and
9-year-old.
Yeah.
And they're saying things, and that worries me, right?
Got you.
And the screen time also worries me in the sense of like you need to make real connections with people. So go out and have friends. So my kids do sports.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that's mandatory.
Got you.
It's not. I don't care what sport you do. I'm not dictating that. I don't care. I play basketball. That's what I like to do.
What about would you let them do like a club or something like that if it wasn't? It's just you got to be outside, off a screen type of thing.
You have to do something
like
where
chess club is
people.
cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, like if they want one of my kids he wants to do piano. I'm like, cool.
Got you.
You just
like art, music, and stuff. You don't just limit them to sports.
Exactly.
Okay,
so they have to do something that involves interacting with people.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Bet.
But they play video games. They use a lot of screen times. We play video games as a family. So I'm not too worried about it in that sense. But like social media, I will have a problem.
Yep.
Like they don't. My kid. There's kids already. My oldest is 9. There's kids already at his age that have social media.
Yeah. Does he have a phone?
No.
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 And so what about emergencies? That's the big excuse, right?
Yeah, exactly. So for now, he doesn't have one.
Gotcha.
But sooner, like he's getting older, so yes, he's gonna have a phone, but that phone will not have apps. It's just call and text.
You know, they got stuff like that nowadays.
Like apps and stuff to control that.
Pretty much, yeah. Like you can set up his phone, and then you'd have control over pretty much anything he can do. Like basically, you'd be like admin for his device type of deal.
So that's the only thing I do worry about, just because social media for a kid that doesn't understand, like they're gonna see stuff and they're just gonna take it as.
Is that okay? Now back up on that though, and I'm just playing devil's advocate because I do agree with you here. But what about the space where, like you just said, the internet evolves so fast?
Yes.
And you say you're gonna bring him into a realm that like he doesn't know in a sense, but like I'd argue, is that really true? Because if you expose him to this social media stuff, and like for us, it was something that's like new, right?
Yes.
And so we had to learn how to navigate it. Now it's already out there. Yes. So like, are the systems in place in a sense that like, you know, people will already dictate what's right and what's wrong on the internet forum in a sense, right? Yes.
So that's a very good point. And that's tricky.
Exactly.
It's hard to give an answer to something like that, just because we don't know what the future is going to look
exactly like. Right. So
go
back to what you just said about your parents to giving you advice that didn't fit. Now you're trying to force him to do something because you think in your generation it made sense. Maybe it doesn't for him, right?
Exactly. So
it is tough in that regard.
Exactly. So you might be slowing down their progress because this is what the world's moving to anyway. But it's like, I think we can agree that social media uncontrolled is bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
100%.
We could agree on that. So you know, we see it everywhere. People can't even drive without looking at your phone.
That's crazy.
So for us, like me being without my phone is good. Me going to go play basketball is good because we lived through that, right?
Yeah.
Kids under us,
they don't.
So from that aspect, I want them to have the experience of both. So I'm trying to be in the middle of it
and let them kind of decide.
Yeah, so like do both. Like okay, we're gonna dibble and dabble on that, but also this is very important. Gotcha. You know, being outside of the screen and interacting. I mean, the way you interact in a screen is fake. It's not real.
Right.
People say things that they wouldn't say to you in your face. So if all your interaction, which there's kids like that nowadays, if all your interaction is through a screen, you kind of don't know. You lose the how to read certain signs when you were in a person-to-person conversation.
I mean, bro, I can't do a Zoom meeting because I can't see who the hell I'm looking at. But these kids, it's gonna be different.
Yeah,
they'll crush a Zoom meeting and they won't be able to do an in-person one.
Same thing with like men ain't getting laid.
Yeah,
because they can't talk to. They could talk to you online, but they can't talk to you in person.
Yeah.
So
and like a lot of them grew up just like playing video games and all that shit. So now when it comes time to be a social butterfly and try to pull some bitches, like you ain't pulling shit, bro.
Exactly, and it's weird, man. Like I said, I the more money I make, it seems like the more primitive I'm gonna become, and it sounds like that's an oxymoron because you make more money, you could buy more tech.
Yeah.
I feel like I make more money. I'm moving out to a ranch and getting some cattle.
I see.
And it's just.
I see.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because it's weird.
So
it's weird.
So as an EE, my big take on. All right. So the internet blew up in the 90s, right? And we're about 30 years out from that, right? It's going on 40. I think the internet is at a place now where it's kind of well established.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see the next revolution of technology will be machine learning and artificial intelligence. And if you limit your children's ability, in a sense, to understand and interact with these systems, you're going to prevent them from almost assimilating to the future of society.
That's where we're headed.
Right. Yeah. Right. So I think those things are scary to me because we already live in a society where I call it black box, right? You got a cell phone. You got no idea how your cell phone works. I already know that.
Yeah.
Right? You got a computer right here. No idea how it works, right? Like, is that okay? I got a car outside. Like, I can change the oil, right? I can fix some stuff on it. I can't rebuild that motor.
No.
Right? So to me, it's like, and this is where like specialized society comes into play. You have to have people who fill certain roles within society, or else everybody starts to become Tony Stark.
Yes.
Iron Man, one man show. That doesn't fly. It's not going to work.
It's not real.
Right. But my issue is with the black box that we put on. It's driven by consumerism, right? So you want to sell product, so you make product more user friendly, which means you put them in a bigger black box, right? You darken the box some more. I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing.
I don't either, just because I think, and I don't know if you could stop it. I don't think we can.
You can stop it if the game isn't to sell product.
But that's, like I said, that game is already too far in the motion where you can't stop it.
Oh yeah,
it's affected government, health insurance, food. It's everything. It's, how can I sell more to somebody?
So there's an idea. It's called UBI, Universal Basic Income.
Yes.
You've heard about this?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd advocate that if we leverage AI in the right way, we should be pushing towards UBI in like a idealistic society.
Yes, I agree with you. I don't like it because I feel like at that point we will have to. It's out of a necessity now. All mechanical stuff took everything. They took all the jobs, right? So you don't need the people to do the job.
Yeah.
So what do you do? You give them money just to pay their bills.
Yeah.
But what about purpose? Like I think
okay. This is this is more of a group mentality type of thing. I agree with you. You're worried about you're a real Republican at this, right? Like if I just give everybody everything, are they going to do anything on the back end to contribute to society?
Yes.
I am willing to bet that they're going to do what you did when you were sitting at home with COVID. And they're going to find their purpose, not because it pays them, but because it makes them happy. And that to me is better because now everybody is happy. And who fucking cares who's doing what if we're all fucking happy?
No, I get that.
That's how I feel about it.
I get that part. And again, like I said, I will like
I give him the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I think you'd like to, and I'm sorry, not just you, but like sounds like your stance on this is like you would doubt that people would take the opportunity to then push the boundaries of society.
No, it's just I think that's in there's certain people built that way. So like I feel like I did that and I was probably gonna do it
Anyways.
And you know people that are cool with just not doing anything.
But they're gonna do that anyways, bro.
But now they're gonna do it and they won't do anything.
They already don't do anything though.
But in this day and age, you have to do something to survive.
Do you?
Yeah.
How much government policy out there subsidizes people living? How many people down the street, down on Lakeview down here, can I go show you that don't work and live?
But that's what I'm saying. Who's bringing that? Us giving stuff is driving to
It's
that.
tax money either way.
Exactly.
But who's the labor force though? This is the difference. It doesn't change that setup, but what it changes is who the labor force is. Now it's not you and I.
Correct.
Now it's our robots. And then now you and I, the ambitious people, can focus on things that really matter.
And the ambitious people will do that.
No matter what.
But
no
the people
matter
that
what.
don't have that.
Who
won't
cares?
Do it
but they won't anyways. But what you do is you give the opportunity to the people who do push society to the brink more room, more freedom, more creativity to then push it farther. You only have a few players that carry us to where we need to go, and everybody else is following behind. The herd following, I should say.
Yeah, but that is with the advancement of machines. Like I said before, back at if you go, have you watched the show Yellowstone or any of those shows?
No.
So it's based on 18.
No time for TV. I wish. I watch YouTube, man, at night. Like that's about what I get.
I watch like those shows with like the wife to build quality time. Like we pick up shows.
Okay, that's cool.
And that will force us to have quality time.
You guys stay faithful. Like, what if she really likes you? She gonna watch episode without you?
She
like,
can't do that.
See, that's hard. That's hard, man.
We gone through it. We gone through the battles.
Yes.
We have gone through the battles. That's cheating. That's like fucking cheating. You can't do that.
Bitch, what are you talking about? You watched episode 3 without me.
I'm watching the whole fucking thing.
I ain't talking to you the rest of the week.
It's like that's fucked up. Yes, we've been through that.
Okay,
but like in those shows, it like, you know, you had to be self-reliant. You had no choice.
Okay.
There was back in those days. There is no let the government do it. There is no taxes is gonna pay for my. There was no financial assistance for the people. The government wasn't helping people that way.
Welfare.
So everybody had to. Like you had to. If you're gonna survive, you had to do it.
Yeah.
Now with the government taking a big chunk of those responsibilities for a lot of those people, and if the government did that for them, those people would do it because they will have no choice.
I see.
And they're more fulfilled, even though they're more fulfilled to me. Again, this is my opinion.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
They're more fulfilled, even though they have to do this work and they don't want to do it, but because they're finding meaning in life because they're actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, if you are one of those people that are not going to move forward anyway, but now everything is handed to you and you do not get, nobody's looking down on you for it, right? You just get to do it. Now you are literally dependent on other people. And to me, I'm against people depending on other people.
Okay, this is where I need to I got to interject here because you depend on other people all the time, every day, though. You go to the gas station and you get gas for your car. Somebody else put the gas inside of there, right? What's it matter if that's a machine that does that, though?
No. And in that sense, but I have to pay that person.
Do you, though? Because we subsidize some things and with government, though. So there are some things that they're called public goods.
Yes.
And you're allowed to them as right as anybody else, right? Like you go to the beach.
Yes. And
you get to spend some time on a public beach. That's cleaned up. The people that do that, you don't pay them. Tax dollars, technically, you don't pay them.
But I do.
You pay taxes, right? And then your policymakers then decide that they get paid.
Exactly.
You don't decide that. Your policymakers do. Let's be clear about that.
No, 100%.
You pay taxes.
Exactly.
Sure.
But if you remove government and you didn't pay those taxes, in older towns, those things will still get done. And it will be done. No, you didn't have to tell people. The government didn't have to tell people, clean this beach. Other people will tell you, hey, you don't clean this or you make this mess, we will hold you accountable.
I don't see So, okay, my thing with that is I don't see the accountability being. So now you're like, instead of having a system that like basically sets it up and like cleans the beach and pays somebody to do so, you're saying it's on the earnest of everybody to go there who uses the beach as a public good to then care for it the same way. Or have the same minimum amount of care, because they gotta, or like you're gonna be like, hey, you can't do this, and like I'm just gonna be like, fuck you, who are you to tell me?
But see, that's the thing. Back in the days, that meant something. If you were in a town and you didn't fall in line with the town rules.
Okay, but you're like talking about small towns though.
That's what I mean.
What are you going to do about Lowell? Now, when the sewage line breaks, right, and you don't have DPW around, and you got a bunch of people out here that have shit backed up in their house, or God forbid, they have no electrical, right? And you subsidize that industry so the electrical is actually cheaper, because if it wasn't, they could monopolize the whole industry and you would be paying an arm and a leg just to get your fucking lights on. But we don't allow them to do that, right? The government actually says electric companies can't turn into monopolies. That is standardized across the whole country.
So for that, yes. So for electricity, that works.
Public goods in general is what I'm talking about, though. So things like that. So like museums, lighthouses, like all of these types of things, that like those systems and infrastructures, like you can't get away with those. And if you did, it would be more chaotic than it is now.
And like I said,
it's almost like getting rid of laws. It's like let's go back to the wild west, and we'll let the people dictate what needs to happen. And then as the population starts, so let's go, like your example is small towns, right? Why does it not that way? Because those small towns grew, and as they grew, they realized that you couldn't control the ideologies of the whole group as it grew too large.
It gets harder to control.
You can't.
The bigger you get, but that's the same thing with the government. Like we don't control, the government has gotten so big now that we don't control it anymore. The people don't control it anymore.
No, yes, I agree with that. It's policymakers that do it, and it's hard for us. I agree with you. I agree with you.
That's what I mean by like if you let people control themselves better by themselves instead of like telling them or just making them like the government does now. Let's be honest. You know how much money we pay in taxes in the United States? Like how much they collect?
I mean, I don't know exactly.
It's I don't know the number exactly, but it's an embarrassing amount that nobody in the United States should be suffering.
So, okay.
So, because we pay so much of it, right? And then we send it to all these places.
I agree with you. I think this is more of like a government structure problem than it is about like a philosophy and ideology problem.
Correct.
Okay. So I think we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah, I think we agree on the same thing.
But okay. So I don't I agree with you. I think government is overbearing, right?
Yeah. And just to make sure, like, I agree with you in the sense of like, look, if technology is going to take over, right? Of course, pay the people, right? I agree. Once it gets to that point, of course, to me, it's like we have no choice. Of course.
My big thing too is like even like simpler than that. It's like, why do you care so much about what people do though? Like if they don't want to do it, why do you care if they're not doing anything though?
To me, I don't care as long as they don't become my problem.
But they wouldn't be your problem if we have UBI, right?
But the thing is, where does that money come from for UBI?
Machines that you didn't build because you're not an EE though, right?
So the machines are going to be doing the work, but the
Did you build the machines though?
No.
But you pay taxes to help build the machines though, right?
Exactly.
So but I guess
if the government said nobody has to pay, we're going to do UBI, but nobody has to pay taxes.
Yeah.
Where did the money comes from if nobody pays taxes?
Where does money come from anyway? All right, let's do that.
Exactly.
Where does money come from anyway? Let's go back there, right? Do you know how money's pumped into the economy? Do you actually know that?
It's fake.
It's sort of. It's not actually fake. It's on a ledger, right? And so you have big players that go to the feds. And what you do is every night they actually put in for a bid to actually get a loan amount for the next day. And what the Fed does is on their ledger, they allow them to pull this amount of money out and they add that to their books.
Correct.
Right?
But
so it is fake, but all money's fake. It's never been real.
Exactly. But like I said, that's why
It's a medium of exchange, right? That's the end of the day.
When it was real was when it was gold and based on real.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
When sugar.
Sure. I get what you're saying.
Things like that was real.
If you want to, I still don't agree with that, because now you're saying that instead of having a dollar backed by policy, it's backed by commodities, which I don't agree with, because now you're saying that your dollar is only good as the value of that commodity, which doesn't make sense to me, because we're bigger than the commodities, right? The amount of stuff that we produce and all that stuff, it makes our dollar value way different than just what the gold standard allows it to be.
But then we have the issues of we could just print money.
We can. And so this is why
and then
policy
it devalues the money that you have.
Sure it does. So this is what happens right now. We're actually in inflation, right? And this is because of all of the policies that we made during COVID.
Correct.
Right? And
I mean, we've gone through it throughout history.
It's cyclic. That's the other thing too, right? And so it's going to get better. It's going to get worse. It's going to get better. It's going to get worse. Throw the system away, bro. I don't look, to me, I'm not saying we need to be socialist, but I am saying that your capitalist system doesn't work, because what it does is it puts all the power into a few people and it makes the rest of them a bunch of guppies. You and I are just guppies, bro.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
We don't control anything.
No. So like to me, it's like I don't fucking care if like Joe Schmo down the street, if he doesn't want to work, he doesn't have to work. I really don't care, because at the end of the day, I'm going to do what I think is right to push the boundaries of society. And like, I always say it, like, I feel engineers and like doctors, lawyers, they have an obligation to do the right thing, because they were given a gift, and like, in a sense that sometimes it's hard work, but like smart people are usually born smart in a sense, right? And so like, if you're going to go be a doctor, you're probably a smarter kid, or you're going to be a lawyer or something like that, right? So to me, I think those people who are given those gifts, because they were given those gifts, now have an obligation to the others who gave them the gift, because you're human, right? You come from this gene pool. You got to think about it as a big picture. We're all one thing. So if you're a smart person, you were fortunate to come out of the gene pool with, a winning lottery ticket.
Correct.
That doesn't mean you get to go do whatever the fuck you want. You're just smarter than somebody. And then the person down the street struggles and like, oh, fuck them. No, that's not how it works, right?
No, like me and you agree in that sense of like helping. Like it will help the people.
Oh, yeah. No. Sorry. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to like lay it out there. Yeah.
But my thing with that is like if we let people become dependent so much on something, then if that thing is taken away, how do you survive? Like we're having that issue right now. Like if you go
the black box, that's the black box thing I'm talking about though. If your cell phone towers went down, like could you put another one up? Like we couldn't without having like
but those things are like that's not we don't need that to survive.
Oh, okay. Clean water you do though, and that's the same technology. It's not electro like it's not
clean
RF
water.
Energy,
clean
right?
water comes. We get clean water from naturally. You see what I'm saying?
You gotta dig into an aqueduct though. Do you know how to do that?
Can you
dig a well?
Yeah, because I was born in Dominican Republic.
Yeah, right. But like,
so like
down the street,
electricity, right? Like that's what I'm saying. Like if something happened right now, people in Dominican Republic will survive. We would die. Why? This is why.
I don't agree with that.
We will have a easier time. You know why? We are not reliant on the things that we're reliant here.
The Dominican, yes, I agree with that. Dominicans would have an easier time.
When I came here, right? Like I wasn't used to plumbing.
But we have better technology here. So the people
if the technology's gone, then
who made it though?
But that's what I'm saying. So like, let's say if
it could be rebuilt in a sense, right?
I'm putting in the sense of like, if we have a mass catastrophe, if you're solely reliant
on what time scale though? Now you're talking about like, okay, if you have a mass catastrophe, now you're talking about like we're all going back to being cavemen, and now you're talking about like third world countries are better fit to be like cavemen because they have no technology.
Exactly. So that's what I mean.
That's true. Yeah,
that's what I mean. We should never lose that. No matter how much.
Those people also die much younger than we do in this society, right? They don't get to live the fulfilling, quote unquote, fulfilling lives we do, right? Their life expectancy is much lower.
Well, yeah.
Third world countries compared to us here, right? Like,
but that's changing. That's
because the technology is becoming more global.
No, it's changing in the sense of like, if you go to like some certain, not everywhere, but like let's say Dominican Republic, I would argue has better food than the U.S. Why? It is less people to feed, so they're eating like where I grew from. There is no freezing meat. There is none of that. There is no frozen anything because there's no electricity.
Yeah, now we're talking about a subsidized agricultural industry, though. That the reason why there's overproduction of meat and then we freeze it is because we actually subsidize that industry and we make it more advantageous for them to actually have cattle instead of having the crops that you would rather have. So Brazil is like this as well. If you go to Brazil, the food's just better, and it's not better because like there's more or less people. It's actually just better because they actually have better growing habits, right? They don't put pesticides in their stuff. Everything's grown organically.
It's harder. They don't choose the shortcuts that we choose. We want to grow avocado every year round. Over there, you have to deal with.
That's your capitalism and your subsidized industries,
exactly.
Right? So it's like we need to push a product and you subsidize this industry. So how do we capitalize off of that?
Exactly. But that's what happens with all of that stuff. And my whole point my whole point to all of that is not that I believe on like, everybody should pull themselves by the bootstraps.
No, I understand what you're saying. You want kind of like the bar, the lowest bar. Like you want everybody to have kind of like you got to at least have a little something.
If something was to happen, how long before you die? Without all the things that we rely on to make it easy. Like technology makes everything easy, right?
I think that's such an extreme case, though.
But it's not because
it is though, because we have so much technology and so like you would have to literally eradicate the fabric of the whole world society at one time.
No, all you have to do is not travel. Look what happened with COVID.
Oh no, I'm talking about like if we had to go back to like natural disaster type shit though. Yeah. Like you know what I'm saying? Like that is so far from like being a reality, I think, because of how far advanced we are. Like,
no, all we have to do is lose power. It's not like what happened in New York in the big blackout and everybody died. We couldn't get the power back.
Oh, you talking New York?
Yeah,
I remember Texas. They had a power grid issue, and what happened was it was getting too cold.
Oh, but that was at a low scale in New York in the 70s or 60s.
Oh, this was back in the day.
There was a big power outage for like weeks.
Got you.
And
people died because they got no heat.
And all the technology that we have, we couldn't fix it. You see what I'm saying?
In the 70s and 80s, yeah, that's exactly what you're saying.
But even today,
But that's such a big society, right? I agree. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like we cannot be so reliant on technology just because it can go go away.
No, okay, so back up. The population wouldn't have gotten that big without technology.
No,
100%,
right? 100%. So you 100%.
So okay, my argument then is that like the amount of people that died is only possible because of technology in the first place, and they died because technology failed.
100%.
So
without technology, we wouldn't grow.
So that's like a chicken and an egg thing, right? So it's like.
Yeah, it is.
So
it's a balance.
Can you survive? But okay, so then the thing is like as human beings, right? As a species, right? We want to diversify the gene pool and grow the population.
Correct.
That's the goal.
That's something that's ingrained in us to do, even if we don't want to or not.
Perfect, right? So to me, what I think then is like you have to like bring these people along in such a way that you can sustain a society of an ever-growing population. Yes. So it's almost like they're necessary evils. You have to have this technology to have this population boom, right? Or like you have to have this government or these police in order to eliminate chaos.
Yes, like I said, I think all of it is needed, but it's just
so big.
It can't get. Like technology, like government cannot run loose because it does what it's doing now. It's making decisions uncontrollably. Before, the government was afraid of the people. Now, the people are afraid of the government.
I agree with that.
And with technology, I will feel like the same thing will happen. Sooner or later, it will be that same thing where if we leave it on check, it will become a problem. Do you think?
No, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Do you? What do you think on like AI and like becoming sentient and like what do you think of that? That's and you're an engineer, so you're more qualified than I am.
That's so far fetched. Yeah. So there's things called all right, let's back up. in order for AI to become sentient, somebody would have to program the AI to become sentient, in a sense.
But are we programming it to learn by itself?
How?
Isn't
This is my problem with the black box. You're afraid of AI because you don't know how it works. But if you knew how it works, there'd be no fear.
so
That's my problem with the big black box. And it's kind of similar to your technology problem where like you're so self-reliant on a system that you don't even know how it works.
so correct. And I think that's a problem.
I agree with that.
I
Totally.
think
I
that you
totally agree
shouldn't
with that.
rely on something that you don't know how it works.
I in a sense I
'Cause
agree
that's
with that.
vulnerable.
But that's where I also come in with the argument that it's the responsibility of those people who can build those to then take care of those who can't. That's why I feel that way. That's why I feel the engineers, the lawyers, the doctors are obligated to fix those who are sick.
Correct.
That's how I feel about it, right?
Yes.
The lawyers are obligated to defend those who were unjustly like accused,
Correct.
right? Engineers' job is to build systems, and like that's why I don't like commercial industry, because they build systems to sell a product.
Exactly. To make money.
Right. But there are engineers who like build stuff to make the world a better place.
Yes.
Right.
But what controls that? Who has more power? The system.
No, the engineer does, because the engineer is the one who puts it out at the end of the day.
No,
it doesn't
because-
get built without them.
No, but the funding comes from somewhere.
Does
and
it though?
if the people that are making
Does
money,
it though?
yeah.
Think
Because
about, okay, no, well, hold on. Have you ever heard about GNU?
no.
GNU licensing. Do you know about Linux operating systems?
Yes, Linux,
okay.
yeah, I
Do you know about Linux?
Yeah.
Linux was developed by one guy, Finnish guy, in 1992. Okay, and all he did was take a piece of free software that was
Yes.
developed at Bell Laboratories in the 70s,
Yes.
and a little development board that he got for the low.
Yeah.
And he developed something that everybody uses, and it's free.
Yes.
So my argument is that
But
money doesn't drive that.
but
Doesn't.
who
Passion.
uses Linux?
Passion drives it.
Who uses Linux?
Passionate people use Linux.
But the
It's
majority
free.
of people, exactly. But
It's
the majority
free.
of people
Don't
don't,
use it.
and it was designed by the government. It was
What?
designed to push what could be controlled.
Talk about Linux?
No. The government went away from Linux. It doesn't push that. Nobody does, because it's not good for making money.
GNU licensing does, right? MIT licensing does, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying. There's pathways to avoid, and this is a big thing. This is my love for the software community, is that they understand that their efforts aren't needed to be paid for, because it's actually really, really beautiful. If you go online, say you're working on a program, AI, right? Like you want to develop something that you give it pictures of cats and it can tell you if it's a cat or not, right? That's the big one I use. All right. You got a bug in your program. It's not working. You don't know why. I guarantee you take that, you throw it online, and you tell these people I got this problem, you'll
They'll
get your
come and
answer in
fix it.
10 minutes.
Yes.
No money down.
Yes.
None.
Yes.
And it's just for the love of passion. And that is a mentality. That's an attitude thing. And that's my big thing, is like, that's where it comes into play. So like when you talk about UBI and these people that are like not doing anything, that's because they got, the attitude is what it is. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
But if you show them a different way, attitude, a different way, and you're like, bro, you don't have to work. Go do something that matters.
I mean, like I said, in that sense, I get it, and it will probably be like a learning curve, right? Because
Yeah.
we have to get
And
rid
not
of
every-
we have to get rid of the old custom of like you have to do something.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, man. It's complicated, huh?
No, it is, because like I think at the end of the day, I think like we just want to have a healthy population, not a
Yes.
wealthy population. I think that's the difference. And
Yes.
healthy, like if anybody you talk to, they'll tell you stress is going to shorten your lifespan.
100%.
So we just want people to be happy. That's healthy. And I think that's what matters.
Exactly.
And like, you know,
that's the whole goal of everything.
yeah. So
and
it's
I think you know, I had this, you know, I said this once before in one of my podcasts, which is humanity is like we all one big organism, and we don't understand. We're not all in the same page at all times.
Yeah.
But if you look at it, we're all building. We don't know what it is, but we're all building towards something, and it's kind of subconsciously.
Yo, bro, so I asked. I told you my pop's a good teacher. I asked him one time. I'm like, Dad, so like, how do you deal with like the fact that like, there's people out there that are like, say you want to play basketball, like you go play and you lose and somebody's better than you, right? And like maybe you got cut from a team or something like this, right? And like, or like people are celebrities and like other people really look up to them and like all this stuff. And it's like, how do you deal with the fact, like in a sense that like maybe you'll like never be one of these people that like you think you aspire to be, right? And it was a complicated question in that sense, right? And his answer I thought was awesome. And he's just like, I mean, like, what's it matter? Like at the end of the day, like we're kind of all human. So like if there's a human that did something, like you get just as much claim to that as they did because you're just as much human as they are.
Correct.
Right? And so like this is what I try to say about like we have a gift that was given by everybody else. Like just because somebody like did something really smart, like or whatever, there was a whole line of lineage of people behind him, right?
That led to that.
Led to that.
Yes.
And so those are the type of things that like we can't just like forget about. We're individual players in a game where like all of our individual choices sum up and
something.
Into some right result, right? And like, yeah, I totally agree. It's like, I don't know, man. Like,
we all like, I'm talking about technology. I'm not saying it's necessarily bad, but if you look at it, every civilization has done it, all the way from the Egyptians. It's like it's nature.
Yeah.
It's like it's in human.
Well,
nature.
we use tools, right? Think about it. Like that's how we survive. Tools. Started with stones to break stuff open, and then it became I found a sharper one. Like, now I can cut stuff with it, and it literally just built upon that. And like as we got better and better with tools, like that's why people love their equipment. They love their little gadgets. It's
natural for us.
Yeah, it's their tools, and it's like I don't want to let that go
because the tools have changed, but it's still tools.
It's still tools.
And to me, we're like not fully developed. That's how I look at humanity.
You think so?
Not like I think.
What's developed mean? I guess then, right?
I think we'll probably end up with like combining with technology. Like how they're talking about putting a chip in your head.
No.
So
if you talk to is this physicist, the Asian guy got like the white hair or whatever, but like there's actually levels to like civilization. There you go, bro. So there's levels to civilizations, right? And we're not the like highest level of civilization. Yeah. So I would in that sense, like I kind of agree with that. So I did want to answer your question. Actually, you asked if like I think AI is going to become sentient, and I kind of threw something back at you and like whatever.
Went on a tangent there,
right? But like, okay, so the fundamental problem and like with that, and we already talked about it, is like understanding how it works. Now, I'll give you a little background on that. When you talk about AI, you talk about machine learning and all that stuff. It's just probabilities, right? So there's a couple big classes we'll talk about, or I'll get into, right? And so the two ones I want to break down, it's called supervised and unsupervised learning, and another one's called reinforcement learning. And supervised and unsupervised learning, that's like a cat, right? The cat program. So like say I had a bunch of pictures and I threw it at the program and I wanted the program to tell me whether if it was a cat or not, right? The way I would go about doing that and allowing it to produce those results is I would take a whole data set of pictures and I would label them, and some of them would be cats and some of them wouldn't, and I would do that data set, I would throw it at my algorithm in a sense, right? What the algorithm does is it takes these picture inputs, right? And with these pictures, what it's actually doing is inputs is pixels. So it's looking at the pixel values in each one of these, right? And it's going to pass that to a mathematical function that's going to map that to a probability.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And it's going to do that in a few layers. And then at the end, it's going to come out with some probability that it's either this or it's that. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
It's all it does. And so the big problem okay, that's supervised learning, right? So that's categorized data. If it's unsupervised, you might do it with some uncategorized data and you let it kind of deal its own way and you play some more games on the back end with how you map the probabilities. Reinforcement learning is the other one. Reinforcement learning, the other big one. It works with an objective function. So basically you tell it like, if you do this, that's good. If you do that, it's bad. If you do something bad, you incur a loss. If you do something good, it's whatever. Now what you want to do is have the maximum score at the end, right? So you want to take as little losses as you can.
Yep.
And so that's reinforcement learning. That's something like, how do I conquer a maze as fast as possible?
Correct.
Right. And
Yep.
so that's you'll start off and it'll probably suck at the maze.
But it will learn and make
But
it.
as it updates that cost function with each decision it makes, it's going to get better at the maze. So now my big thing is, what are the data sets you're using in supervised, unsupervised learning? So we have these things called stochastic parrots. ChatGPT.
Yep.
ChatGPT, there was somebody out there who asked ChatGPT, he said, give me a list of 10 doctors. He gave him a list of 10 doctors. Well, guess what? They were all white males. So he goes, okay, your list is all white males. Give me a list of 10 doctors that aren't white males. So I gave him a list of 10 doctors. They were all female, actually, this time. They were still all white.
Jesus.
So it goes, okay, now you gave me a list of all female doctors, but they're all white.
Correct.
So now I don't want any white doctors. Give me 10 more. I gave him 10 doctors. They weren't white. But they were all male again.
It just keeps.
No. It's not going backwards. What it's doing is it's revealing biases within its data set. And its data set is, if you were to go and look at the doctors in the data set,
Yeah.
the majority of them are white males. Why is that so? Because the data set that they use is based off the internet,
Yes.
which is controlled mostly by middle-aged white males.
Yes. Correct.
So your data set is inherently biased. That's the problem I have with AI. The other problem I have with AI, in a sense of like, oh, is this scary or not, is what is that objective function? What are you objectifying over, right? Military applications, this can get scary.
Yes.
I agree with that. You
Yeah.
can develop superior killing machines, sure.
Yes.
Right. I am not worried about them then saying like,
We're gonna kill humans.
for some weird reason or whatever, right? Because if I'm going to go, like, say I'm a programmer.
Yeah.
I am not going to teach my robot to kill humans and that be the objective function. It's going to be to kill other robots.
Gotcha.
Right.
But what about, so you're saying there's no way that it could decide to learn something that was not programmed?
How could it? Do you know? Like,
I don't know.
No, philosophically speaking, like I think it's a legitimate question. How could it? Right? Like, do you know how to like assess the unknown unknowns out there? So there's things that you like know exist. There's things that you know exist, but you don't really know of them. And then there's things that you don't know exist that you don't know of at all.
Exactly.
An unknown, can us as humans learn anything about an unknown? No, that's what it is.
You need a starting point.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. So if you leave the realm of unknown unknowns to consist of like the stuff you don't want the AI to do, it could never actually do that.
Gotcha. But then what about those people that said, and I forget what it was. I don't know if it was ChatGPT or what it was, but how it learned a language that they didn't program on its own. And I saw this on Joe Rogan, where this
you're talking about. I think you're talking about two chatbots that started talking to each other, and what the chatbots did was they gave it a language, but they realized that the language they were using was actually inefficient. And so what they did was created their own language based off that original one to be more efficient.
No, they were speaking like they didn't teach it French, but it learned French on its own.
It learned French.
Yeah, it learned French by itself without it being programmed to learn that. I forget what it is. I don't know if it was ChatGPT, so we'll probably come back to that at some point. I'll do more.
They'd have to have access to the data. So the thing I would say.
But what I'm saying is it chose to do it without permission. Nobody told it.
No, that's what I'm saying. Somebody did tell it. They didn't know they told it to do it.
But see what that could be dangerous.
Yeah, it could be dangerous. I get that sense. That's why objective functions I have a problem with them. What are you objectifying over?
Gotcha.
Learning a language that's text based. Is that
True.
really that bad?
Correct.
So,
Correct. That's your point.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And it could just be like the reason why they actually learned French was because they told them to learn the Romance languages, and French just happened to be something, right? Yeah,
It could
so
be
like,
something simple like that.
yeah, exactly. Like, and English is so close to French and Italian and Spanish that I think if like you taught it to like English, it might be able to then have access to some French words and then learn through context how to speak French. And then so you could probably prompt it to do some French stuff. So that's the other thing too. I should talk about that. Natural language processing algorithms, they're a little bit different from, you know, kind of how we just talked about, but essentially they do the same thing, right? They're going to decide on a probability of what is the most likely response based off, you know, however it was trained. We call it training is how these guys learn.
Yes.
So you train it, then you kind of have the algorithm in like a stable format, and then you just throw data at it and you let it produce results.
New things.
Yeah.
What do you think of like us becoming one with the machine, like putting a chip in your brain?
We already are.
Basically, in a it's not an invasive way yet. We're not like, it's not in our, you know, attached to us to that.
I'd argue it is though, because like you have RF frequencies that are like around you all the time, right? So like if like just radio waves and stuff, like our cell phones right now, like we're getting hit by radio waves and stuff. So like, I don't know, like if you have enough exposure to RF energy, you can cause cancer. You could die.
Correct.
So and like, yeah, the FCC regulates like what's acceptable and what's not acceptable, but like, what does acceptable mean?
But I mean in the sense of like, let's say they put something in your brain, and then now you know everything that's known.
Oh yeah, I'm with that.
Yeah, like that.
Would you know everything that's known though, or would you just know everything that's published and written?
Everything that's published and written.
So now you have the data set bias problem. That's where I get scared about that. I would actually like everybody to have access to all the information at once,
exactly.
Sure, but I want that information to be unbiased.
Exactly.
And that's not going to happen.
Not gonna happen.
That's my issue, I think, right? So that's why I would want the most ethically like thoughtful engineers to actually be the ones who put these like systems into place, because at the end of the day, they're not going to like sit there and be like, yeah, I'm going to build something that's going to go kill people, right? Or like, I'm not going to.
Well, it depends. I mean, look at the atomic bomb. And that was.
They decided that like they knew what they were doing. I agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm thinking like, so like, yes, you're right. The government applications, they'll hire engineers and they'll make them do that. I'm talking like private players who like do this on their own and stuff. I feel like I'd want the most ethically inclined engineers to be the ones that build these systems like for society moving forward. Like,
and I feel like if the government was not involved in it, it will probably do that. But the minute the government gets involved,
but you have to regulate it because of the worries you have. So you have to regulate the data sets. You have to make sure you have to have some governing body that is going to check for biases in the data set, or else you're going to have these like ChatGPT like guys that like are like inherently racist, or you know, or their ideas align mostly with the Ku Klux Klan or something, because like that's where it got all the data from, some forum there with a KKK poster, shit like that. So like, I think you have to have regulating bodies in that sense to like, oh, like this is the data set that we want people to use to process this or something, and you should have engineers that then try to like throw stones at that data set and like, yeah, there's something wrong with it, we need to update it. And that should be something we pay for as a society. And how we should pay for it is through our data that they steal from us and don't pay for us for.
Exactly.
So you get sold a product, right, on your phone. People say all the time, oh, just talk about this. There's an ad right here. It's like, yeah, okay, it's product placement because the algorithm is getting better at it, right? I'd be like, oh, the algorithm. It's like, the algorithm took your data, took my data, and that's how it was able to tell us what we wanted.
Exactly.
Why the hell aren't we getting paid for that? Everybody just clicks, I accept.
Exactly.
Everybody's cool with
I click
cookies.
no every time.
Because nobody knows what the fucking black
Exactly.
box is doing.
Exactly.
That's my problem here. So now we're already too far behind to where our data's already been stolen and like we're not getting paid for it. Like, and it's like, you have my profile. You know everything about me. You know how to sell me a product. Yep. And you're doing it to my friends and my family and everybody else, and you're making money off of it. Like, where's my cut?
It's like that. Those old fortune tellers. They will ask you. They'll get you to tell on yourself or by yourself,
And then expose your ass.
And then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you need this."
Yeah.
Based on what you told me.
Yeah. So that was a bit. I say that one to Ramon a lot. Like, I'm like, bro, we need to be getting paid for this shit, because like,
Yeah.
those data sets that they build to make ChatGPT with, that's all stuff they didn't. It's not like
Ask
they,
permission or nothing.
you know what I mean? That's not an original thing that they put together, right? Like, yeah, we agreed to it because we clicked okay, but like, is that really okay? People don't know what they're agreeing to. Is that legal? No, it's not. It's actually not.
And it's happening in so many levels.
And so people are like literally getting exploited. They don't even know better. Like, so people are like, oh, I just seen an ad for that. And then I'm thinking in my head, like, damn, target advertising, and like, we're not getting paid for it.
It's the whole thing of getting programmed.
Like, I think it should be a legal thing to where like you have to sign off that like your data can be used in a marketed way to like sell you product.
Exactly.
Like,
You don't even get asked anymore.
no,
It's crazy.
no.
And then that's something that we give
Metadata
social media.
all the time.
Yeah.
All the
Social
time.
media, everybody just gives that up. And they're making a whole lot of money out of it.
Yeah, but you think about all the marketing they can do. Target marketing, like if like, bro, I'm not going to spend a bunch of money to put an advertisement out for like a 30% return.
Exactly.
But if I know I'm going to get a 70% return, I will pump a bunch of money, right? And attack that demographic, because I know 70% of them are going to want to buy the product. Whereas like you don't have that type of insight before, right? You don't know. And so you just kind of, what's your strategy here? So now they're saving money on the bottom end because their marketing budget gets finer and tighter, and they're still making the sales bottom line. It's like, either way you cut it, we should be getting paid for this shit. It's like, I don't know. It bugs me big time, because like now and then we go back into AI. Now you're going to start to build profiles off of people and use that data and data sets and things like that.
Get them to do whatever you want them to do. Yeah. But all right, brother. That was a good episode. We've been here for a while. It's 10 o'clock.
Holy shit.
Exactly. That's why I looked up and I'm like, whoa.
Yo, like, bro, we got to wrap this up.
Exactly.
Nah, that's cool.
All right, man. Well, welcome to EDJ. Thank you for coming to EDJ Studios and the EDJ podcast.
Yeah, bro, appreciate it.
That was a good conversation, man. I hope we get to do it again.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
I will. We got to bring Ramon on here, and we won't hijack with the philosophy and government and all that stuff.
I like it. I like all that stuff.
It's cool because like we grew up together, and like we wouldn't have had these conversations as kids. Exactly. So like now that we like able to like be adults, have lives, come back and like, you know, touch base, I appreciate it big time.
Me
See
too.
what's going on.
Me too. This was fun. So yeah, guys, I hope when this comes out, you guys appreciate it too. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, bro.